Chapter 712. Rumble. The huge demon god's hand traversed the void and broke open the sky. Endless chaotic chi filled the air, and its ferocious might overflowed as if it was going to destroy the world. That terrifying demonic aura caused everyone's bodies to tremble, and their eyes were filled with terror. Roar. An earth-shattering roar was heard, as if it was the roar of a demon god. The huge demon god's hand suddenly slammed down on the flaming mountain. Boom! Fire Phoenix Sovereign's gaze instantly became incomparably solemn. A sea of fire rose around her, and a vast and mysterious power of law descended, making her look like a god that controlled the heavenly Tao law. She was incomparably mysterious. The endless sea of fire seemed to be the power of the origin of fire. Fire Phoenix Sovereign's palms swept across the sky, and the sea of fire soared into the sky and blasted towards the demon god's hand. Crack! The void suddenly shook, and the sky shattered like a mirror. Endless divine light gushed out from the chaotic mist, and the monstrous flames were instantly crushed by the demonic chi that filled the sky. Fire Phoenix Sovereign groaned, and her face instantly turned pale. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. The demon god's hand was too terrifying. The monstrous demonic chi seemed to be able to erode all power. Not only did it shatter the power of law of fire that Fire Phoenix Sovereign had condensed, but it also injured her. Rumble. The demon god's hand trembled slightly in the void, and in an instant, it once again condensed the monstrous demonic chi, and continued to descend towards the flaming mountain. A gleam of light flashed through Ling Xiao's eyes. He could sense that after the black bone had devoured old man Luosheng's essence, blood and soul, it had transformed into a devil's hand that even Sovereign Fire Phoenix would find difficult to resist. He gritted his teeth, and regardless of whether the black bone would be exposed or not, a light flashed in his hand, and he took out the mysterious stone box. When the stone box was opened, there was a small black bone person inside. However, it was missing 4 limbs and looked very mysterious. It seemed to be branded with a mysterious world. Buzz! The moment the stone box was opened, the small black bone person shone brightly. A mysterious, dark, ancient, and terrifying aura erupted. The world seemed to have sunk into darkness in an instant. Everyone seemed to have lost their sight. Black light filled their eyes and they couldn't see anything clearly. The devil's hand in the void trembled slightly as if it had sensed some mysterious summoning. It instantly turned into a stream of light and flew into the stone box. It then turned back into a piece of black bone and merged with the bone man. Wang! The bone dwarf had an extra arm, but it was still missing an arm and 2 legs. Ling Xiao guessed that perhaps some mysterious change would occur after the humanoid skeleton was completed. Ling Xiao quickly kept the stone box. Boom! The terrifying dark aura instantly disappeared without a trace, and the world regained its clarity. The demonic hand in the void also disappeared completely. Everyone's faces were filled with confusion. Why did the demon god's hand suddenly disappear? Supreme Fire Phoenix looked deeply at Ling Xiao. She had clearly noticed that Ling Xiao had taken out a stone box, and then darkness had descended, enveloping the world, and the demonic god's hand had disappeared. It seemed like Ling Xiao had a lot of secrets. However, Paragon Fire Phoenix didn't delve into it. Elders, you stay here and take care of the aftermath. I'm going to the outworld to see how the battle with Dragon King ends. Paragon Fire Phoenix said to the 3 prime elders of the Mountain of Flames, then soared into the sky and flew toward the outworld. Ling Xiao breathed a sigh of relief. He had been worried that Paragon Fire Phoenix would investigate further. After all, the black bone person was very important, and Ling Xiao had a feeling that it was hiding some shocking secret. A mere arm was enough to suppress a titled paragon. If it was complete, wouldn't it have the power to slay gods? Ling Xiao's heart trembled at the thought. Even the wordless heavenly tome couldn't do anything to the black bone. Just where did it come from? The curtains finally fell on the Battle of the Mountain of Flames. Old man Luosheng had sacrificed the hand, and Ling Xiao had killed Paragon Leopard. His nascent divinity had been suppressed in the heaven-devourer cauldron. Paragon Tiger, Paragon Wolf, and Paragon Bear had escaped with heavy injuries. It was a complete victory. However, everyone was more worried about the battle in the outworld. The great sun demon Paragon, Heavenly Corpse Emperor Xian, Trailokai Vijaya, and Star Emperor were all titled paragons. Although Long Lai was also a titled paragon, could he really stand up to them? The three prime elders of the Mountain of Flames descended from the 9 heavens, looking at Ling Xiao with eyes full of gratitude. Young friend Ling, not only did you heal the Mountain Lord, but you also allowed her to prove her Tao and be conferred a titled paragon. The Mountain of Flames will never forget this kindness. If you have any requests in the future, the Mountain of Flames will not refuse. The 3 prime elders said earnestly, then bowed deeply to Ling Xiao. You're too kind, elders. I'm just doing my best. The reason Paragon Fire Phoenix was able to prove her Tao and be conferred a titled paragon was because of her own efforts. However, I'm afraid the Heavenly Demon Palace won't take this lying down. Elders, you should be more vigilant. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and hurriedly helped the 3 grand elders up. Young friend Ling is right. The Heavenly Demon Palace and the Great Sun Demon Paragon have wild ambitions. We have to be careful. The 3 prime elders nodded. Ling Xiao, thank you for healing Master. Lin Hui also walked over. Although his expression was a little complicated, he still sincerely thanked Ling Xiao. You're welcome. Brother Lin, you've already passed the tribulation of the earth since we parted in the holy ground. Congratulations. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Since Lin Hui came over to thank him, he naturally wouldn't refuse. Compared to Brother Ling, I'm not even worth mentioning. Brother Ling killed the leopard paragon today, and soon the entire war god continent will be shaken. At that time, Brother Ling's ranking on the Azure Cloud roll will probably rise again. Lin Hui sighed softly. The Azure Cloud roll could be said to be the prodigy roll that countless geniuses in the entire war god continent yearned for. Those who could step onto the Azure Cloud roll could definitely prove their Tao and become paragons. In the entire war god continent, there were many half-step paragons, but very few paragons. Many half-step paragons were stuck at this level, unable to break through their entire lives. The Azure Cloud roll? Ling Xiao smiled faintly, and his eyes revealed a trace of light. He wondered how his current battle prowess would compare to the successor of the war god temple, Buddhist Kasayapa, and that mysterious loose cultivator, the Azure Emperor. This made Ling Xiao look forward to the Heavenly Selection Convention even more. 3 days later, Paragon Fire Phoenix and Long Lai returned safely from the outer realm. Only then did everyone in the blazing mountain breathe a sigh of relief. Chapter 713. Long Lai still remembered that when the Great Sun Demon Venerable left, his face was extremely ugly. The Great Sun Demon Venerable had planned for so long and even invited experts from Ming Wang Temple, Underworld Pavilion, Star Palace, and Emperor Tomb Mountain. In the end, they still suffered a crushing defeat. Old Man Luosheng and Leopard Demon Venerable died in battle. Sky Demon Palace could be said to have gone for wool and come home shorn. When Long Lai heard that Ling Xiao had killed Leopard Demon Venerable, his eyes were filled with shock. His nephew's talent was too monstrous. The speed at which his combat strength increased was simply beyond his imagination. Ling Xiao, in this last year, follow me back to the Crystal Palace. I will try my best to collect the 4 symbols' secret treasures of earth, water, wind, and fire to help you pass the 4 symbols' calamity within a year. At that time, you might really be able to compete with the successor of War God Temple, Buddha Kasayapa. Long Lai glanced at Ling Xiao and said slowly. Oh. Uncle, do you think that I'm not their match now? Ling Xiao smiled. That's right. Long Lai nodded and said, your current combat strength is indeed very strong. However, in front of a peerless genius, the difference of a small realm will be magnified to infinity. The successor of War God Temple and Buddha Kasayapa have been famous for decades. After this Heaven's Choice meeting, they will definitely pass the sovereign calamity and become sovereigns. Their accumulation is too deep. The strength of War God Temple and Tempest Temple is not something you can imagine. Even if your combat strength is very strong, the two of them have flawless artifacts. Ordinary sovereigns will definitely die if they meet them, let alone you. Ling Xiao nodded. He naturally knew how strong War God Temple and Tempest Temple were. He also knew how terrifying flawless artifacts were. However, sometimes, in a life and death battle, it was not based on realms or artifacts. Ling Xiao was confident that even if he faced the successor of War God Temple, Buddha Kasyapa, he would still be able to fight. However, Ling Xiao did not plan to break through the tribulation of the four symbols within a year. He was prepared to use this year to cultivate and stabilize his cultivation. He wanted to practice martial arts and dabble in various schools to find his own path of martial arts. He wanted to surpass his previous life and reach the peak. He had to walk an unprecedented path. Uncle, I won't follow you back to the Crystal Palace. Tell my mother not to worry. I'm going to the Shura sect. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Shura sect? Could it be that you've taken a fancy to the Azura sect's Azura Battle Tower? Long Lai's eyes flashed. The Azura Battle Tower was the sacred cultivation ground of the Azura sect. It contained countless ancient battle spirits. Inside the Azura Battle Tower, they could temper themselves and comprehend the purest battle intent. The people of the Azura sect were all battle maniacs because they were tempered in the Azura Battle Tower. That's right, I was thinking of going to the Shura Battle Tower to gain some experience. Ling Xiao said with a smile. The most important thing for him to come to the Azura sect this time wasn't the Azura Battle Tower, but rather, to find news about Sovereign Azura. He had a faint suspicion that the Azura sect was treating him so well because Sovereign Azura was still alive. 10,000 years had passed, and the world had changed. Nothing existed anymore. When Ling Xiao guessed that Sovereign Azura's close friend might still be alive, he was incomparably excited. That's good too. With your current cultivation and combat strength, as long as you don't meet the strongest few, I have nothing to worry about. However, you still have to be careful. The Great Sun Demon Venerable is extremely terrifying. Now that he's nearing the end of his lifespan, I'm afraid he'll do anything crazy. Long Lai nodded and said. The Great Sun Demon Venerable. If the heavens want him to die, they must first go crazy. He's just courting death. After the two battles at the Crystal Palace and the Blazing Mountain, he should have learned his lesson. If he doesn't learn his lesson, I'll destroy the Sky Demon Palace after the Sky Chosen One. Ling Xiao smiled with a trace of sharpness in his eyes. Destroy the Sky Demon Palace? We'll talk about it after you've attained the title. Long Lai shook his head and smiled. No matter how talented Ling Xiao was, he didn't think that Ling Xiao had any hope of attaining the title within 1,000 years. Long Lai and Fire Phoenix Sovereign were both heavenly geniuses. However, it took them close to 10,000 years to reach the titled Sovereign Realm. The peak of the human Tao, the perfected 10th level of the Supreme Realm, attaining the title was too difficult. After the battle at the Blazing Mountain ended, Ling Xiao, Long Lai, Fire Phoenix Sovereign, and the rest bade farewell and left the Blazing Mountain. When they left, Ling Xiao could clearly sense the resentment in Fire Phoenix Sovereign's eyes when she looked at Long Lai. Uncle, Fire Phoenix Sovereign is deeply in love with you. Why don't you give in to her? You've delayed her for so many years. Do you really want to delay her for the rest of her life? Ling Xiao smiled mockingly above the void. What do you know? Long Lai glared at Ling Xiao unhappily and said with a light sigh, our matters are too complicated. Don't blindly meddle in it. I'll send you to the Azura region. You can head to the Azura sect yourself. The Crystal Palace is too empty now. I'm afraid that the Great Sun Demon Venerable will tamper with it. All right. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. His eyes flashed. Could it be that there was some inside story between Fire Phoenix Sovereign and Long Lai that he didn't know? Long Lai traveled through the void and soon arrived at the Azura region. He left Ling Xiao in the Azura region and gave him a few instructions. Then, he returned to the Crystal Palace with the Yin and Yang Grand Elders. The Azura region could be said to be a part of the Wasteland Demon region. There were desolate mountain ranges everywhere. Ancient trees towered into the sky. Ancient lakes and rivers crisscrossed. It was like an ancient desolate world, exuding a majestic aura. 10,000 years have passed. As expected, the Azura region hasn't changed much. Ling Xiao said slowly. The Azura region was deserted. Only the plains in the west had humans living there. The desolate mountains in the east were filled with powerful demon beasts. In the Azura region was worthy of being called the Holy Land of the Martial Tao. Moreover, the Azura sect taught everyone regardless of race. Regardless of whether they were humans or demons, as long as they met the requirements, they could enter the Azura sect. The Azura sect was located in a huge mountain range. There were a total of 49 mountain peaks. They formed the Great Azura Divine Array and enveloped the Azura sect. This was the Holy Land of the Azura region. Countless martial artists were eager to enter the Azura sect. Outside the Azura sect's mountain gate, a dozen experts in black robes stood on both sides. Their faces were cold and their auras were extraordinary. Their bodies exuded a strong murderous aura. The weakest among them was of the noble realm. The leader was a middle-aged man in a black robe. He was a half-honorable. He carried a black war saber on his back and sat on a black rock. Ling Xiao descended from the void and arrived outside the Azura sect's mountain gate. Halt! The eyes of the black-robed experts flashed. They shouted coldly at the same time. A strong murderous aura rushed towards Ling Xiao. Chapter 714. Eldest Senior Brother. A young man in black robes was shocked and looked at Ling Xiao suspiciously. Li Jingming was the first true disciple of Shura sect and everyone's eldest senior brother. Ling Xiao's request to meet Li Jingming immediately shocked them. Ling Xiao was an unfamiliar name and they had never heard of it before. Was this delicate-looking young man really eldest senior brother's friend? Wait a minute. The young man in black robes could not make up his mind. He turned around and walked towards the black rock. He then said respectfully, Elder Lu, this person says that he is eldest senior brother's friend and wishes to meet him. Should we pass on his message? Li Jingming's friend? The black-robed middle-aged man slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was sharp as he glanced at Ling Xiao. Li Jingming is the Shura sect's holy son. Not everyone can meet him. Do you have any proof that you are his friend? Ling Xiao was stunned. Li Jingming had not given him any proof when he had invited him to Shura sect. Ling Xiao shook his head and said, Elder, Li Jingming did not give me any proof. However, we met in the holy ground. My name is Ling Xiao. As long as you tell him, he will know. Ling Xiao. The middle-aged man in black robes frowned. He felt that the name was familiar but he could not recall where he had heard it from. Since you don't have any proof, you may leave. The Shura sect's holy son is not someone that anyone can meet casually. The middle-aged man in black robes pondered for a moment but could not figure it out. He then looked at Ling Xiao indifferently. Ling Xiao's face turned cold as well. The elder who was guarding the mountain of Shiolua sect was a little too unreasonable. This middle-aged man in black robes had just broken through to half-refined state. Ling Xiao could easily wipe out a group of people with such cultivation. However, this was Shura sect and Ling Xiao did not lose his temper. Instead, he said coldly, I have said that as long as Li Jingming hears my name, he will naturally come out to welcome me. I will not stoop to your level. Hurry up and inform him or you will bear the consequences. The Holy Son will come out to welcome you. Bear the consequences? Ha ha ha. Kid, you are really arrogant. A cold light flashed in the eyes of the black-robed middle-aged man. Then, he burst into laughter. Even though he wasn't able to discern Ling Xiao's cultivation, Ling Xiao seemed to be so young, so he felt that Ling Xiao was merely at the monarch realm. There were many people who wanted to meet Li Jingming, but Ling Xiao had actually dared to threaten him, and it instantly aroused a trace of killing intent in his heart. "Brat, you actually dare to threaten Elder Lu? Could it be that he really wanted to die? Hurry up and scram, or I'll let your blood splatter on the spot." The black-robed youth's gaze turned cold as he berated Ling Xiao. "Get lost? Even if you want to leave today, you have to ask me first. Brat, this elder won't bully the weak. As long as you can take one of my palms, you can scram if you can. If you can't, then leave your life behind." The black-robed middle-aged man, Elder Lu, sneered. His whole body exuded an incomparably powerful aura as he jumped down from the black stone. He had been in a very bad mood for the past few days. His daughter was an outstanding beauty, and he had used many connections to introduce her to Li Jingming. In the end, Li Jingming had bluntly rejected all of them. Li Jingming was the eldest core disciple of the Azura sect, so no matter how angry he was, he didn't dare to say anything. However, a brat who claimed to be Li Jingming's friend had actually dared to offend him, and it instantly caused the flames of fury in his heart to burn even brighter. Rumble. A peerlessly powerful aura emanated from Elder Lu's body, and a powerful blade intense soared up and pressed down on Ling Xiao. A trace of sympathy appeared in the eyes of the Azura sect's disciples as they looked at Ling Xiao. This fellow actually dared to offend Elder Lu. Even if he doesn't die, he'll be heavily injured. However, Ling Xiao's expression was very calm, and it was as if he wasn't affected by Elder Lu's aura at all. The Azura sect of the Azura sect has always only recruited those with extremely strong battle intent and pure minds as disciples. I never expected that after 10,000 years, a bunch of snobs like you would actually appear. Since that's the case, I'll teach you all a lesson on behalf of the Azura sect." Ling Xiao laughed coldly, and a trace of sharpness appeared in his eyes. He could feel the murderous intent in Elder Lu's heart. He wanted to kill someone just because they didn't agree with each other. What difference was there between a person like this and a demon? If the Azura sect was filled with people like this, then even if the Azura sect didn't die, he would probably die from anger. "Teach us a lesson." "Ha ha ha. Brat, you're really arrogant. I'd like to see if you still dare to be so arrogant in a while." Elder Lu laughed out of extreme anger, and his eyes instantly became extremely cold. Whoosh! At this moment, two figures flew over from afar. It was an old and dignified elder, and a young lady in a red dress. She looked extremely beautiful, and her figure was graceful. She had an extraordinary aura about her. "Father, you're back. Did you find the 10,000-year star wood on this trip?" Elder Lu's eyes flashed, and he immediately greeted them with a pleasant surprise. Sigh. The 10,000-year star wood is a peerless treasure that's comparable to a peerless sacred medicine. The precious treasure pavilion does have a 10,000-year star wood, but it costs 1 million pure yang pills. The dignified elder sighed softly. You're Ling Xiao." That young lady in a red dress gaze landed on Ling Xiao. Suddenly, her entire body trembled, and her eyes revealed a trace of disbelief. Ling Xiao. When the dignified elder heard this voice, his entire body also quivered. He hurriedly turned around to look and discovered that youth with a very delicate face. Who else could it be other than Ling Xiao? "It's you guys. Lu Xiongshi and Lu Wan." Ling Xiao's gaze was also slightly stunned. He didn't think that he could actually meet acquaintances here. The dignified elder and young lady in a red dress in front of him were precisely the descendants of Lu Gachin whom he met in Stellar Sky City. Ling Xiao didn't think that he would actually meet them here. Ha ha ha. Truly, there's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. Instead, you barge into the doorless hell. Sky Maple, he's Ling Xiao. The old ancestor died because of him. Our Stellar Sky City's Lu family was also ruined because of him. Today, you must kill him and avenge the old ancestor. Lu Xiongshir's eyes were bloodshot, and his killing intent was blazing. He looked at Ling Xiao and gnashed his teeth as he spoke. Lu Wan's expression was somewhat complicated. She glanced at Ling Xiao in a daze and didn't say anything. This youth. She once thought that Ling Xiao wanted to climb the social ladder and covet her Stellar Sky bloodline. That was why he returned to Stellar Sky City with her. But after a series of events, she finally understood that it was all her own conceit. Ling Xiao never took her seriously from the start. Chapter 7:15. She still remembered what Ling Xiao said before he left. They weren't from the same world at all. Right, so she was just a frog at the bottom of a well, and the young man she looked down upon was a divine dragon that was above the 9 heavens. Now that she saw Ling Xiao once more, there was no hatred in her heart, but there was a complicated feeling of melancholy, regret, and bitterness mixed together. Ling Xiao. Ha ha ha. No wonder I felt that name was so familiar. So it's you. You're the one who destroyed my Lu clan. Since you've delivered yourself to my doorstep, then leave your life behind. Elder Lu was Lu Tianfeng, Lu Xiongshir's son and Lu Wan's father. He'd joined the Azura sect a few dozen years ago, and he was currently an outer court elder of the Azura sect. He was at the quasi-exalt realm, so he could be considered to possess a high status and authority. Truly, one can take responsibility for a calamity brought on by the heavens, but the calamity brought on by oneself is the hardest to bear. If Lu Guqin knew that he had unfilial descendants like you, he would probably strangle all of you to death. I originally let all of you off out of consideration for Lu Guqin, but since all of you are courting death, then don't blame me. Killing intent flashed through Ling Xiao's eyes as he spoke slowly. He could have killed both Lu Xiongshir and Lu Wan in Skystar City, but he'd only let them off because of Lu Guqin. He never expected that he would actually encounter them here. Moreover, based on Lu Xiongshir and Lu Tianfeng's expressions, they seemed to be determined to kill Ling Xiao. Lu Xiongshir was still at the 9th level of the monarch realm while Lu Wan was actually at the 9th level of the noble realm. Looks like she'd obtained quite a bit of benefits in the Azura sect. Out of consideration for the ancestor. Who do you think you are? You dare to mention the ancestor's name? If it wasn't for you, how could we have possibly left Skystar City? Our families would have been destroyed, and we could only seek shelter under the Azura sect. You'll definitely die today even if you're the emperor. Lu Xiongshir spoke with a ghastly voice. Father, there's something you're unaware of. He said he's a friend of the Holy Sun, and he came to the Azura sect to meet the Holy Sun. Lu Tianfeng spoke indifferently. A friend of the Holy Sun? Tui. Is he even worthy? Lu Xiongshir laughed coldly. Tianfeng, don't be deceived by him. He doesn't belong to any sect, and he's an independent cultivator. Holy Sun. This brat is lying. Kill him. An independent cultivator? All right. Lu Tianfeng smiled coldly and walked towards Ling Xiao. I heard from Wan that you were only at the 9th level of the heaven tier 2 years ago. How much have you improved in these 2 years? Was it LV1 or LV9 of the noble realm? I don't know where you got the confidence to be so arrogant here. Later, I will crush every bone in your body inch by inch and let you die with a wail. Lu Tianfeng walked over step by step, emitting a monstrous baleful aura. He was like an unsheathed divine saber, terrifying beyond compare. Father, forget it. Let him go. We were the ones who let him down. Let him go now. Lu Wan's face showed a trace of reluctance, and she quickly said. Wan, don't be deceived by this brat. Our ancestor died because of him. Our Lu clan declined because of him. He must die. The killing intent in Lu Tianfeng's eyes seemed to materialize. Really? I'd like to see how you're going to kill me. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, as if he was looking at 2 clowns. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes. The ignorant were fearless. This saying was true. If Lu Tianfeng knew that Ling Xiao had just killed a supreme being, would he still dare to act like this? Boom! Lu Tianfeng's eyes flashed with murderous intent, and he slammed his palm towards Ling Xiao. A terrifying palm print surrounded by black baleful aura slammed towards Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's expression was still very calm, as if he did not see Lu Tianfeng's attack at all. When the palm was right in front of Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and he threw out a simple punch. Crack! Golden lightning flashed, emitting a terrifying dragon's might. It was as if an immemorial divine beast had awakened, and an extremely terrifying aura emanated from Ling Xiao's body. Lu Tianfeng's expression changed drastically. His palm seemed to have hit a divine mountain, and it instantly exploded. Blood mist filled the air, and intense pain surged into his heart. He could not help but let out a cry of pain. Ah! Lu Tianfeng screamed, and blood spurted from his mouth. One of his arms had completely exploded into a bloody mist. This was also because Ling Xiao had shown mercy. Otherwise, Lu Tianfeng's entire body would have been blasted into nothingness by this punch. Everyone was stunned. Apart from Lu Tianfeng's screams, there was complete silence. Everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief, as if they were in a dream. Such a delicate-looking young man had actually blasted Elder Lu's arm apart with one punch. Elder Lu was a half-step supreme being, so how terrifying would this young man be? They suddenly remembered Ling Xiao's words. Perhaps this young man was really the saint's good friend? Instantly, a feeling of impending disaster surged into their hearts. This is impossible. This is simply impossible. Lu Xiongshir's eyes were filled with disbelief and horror. He mumbled to himself as if he had been scared silly by Ling Xiao. Lu Wan'er's mouth was also agape, and her eyes were wide open. Her face instantly turned pale. Kid, I want you dead, I want you dead. Lu Tianfeng was in a frenzy, unable to believe everything that was happening before his eyes. He suddenly roared and pulled out the black battle saber on his back. Rumble. The black battle saber was a supreme-grade Dao artifact, exuding a monstrous aura. Lu Tianfeng held the saber in one hand, and his cultivation erupted as he slashed towards Ling Xiao. You're courting death. A cold glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. He did not dodge and directly struck out with his palm. Golden light rose up like a galaxy that traversed the sky. The light from the blade was blazing, and it slashed onto the black battle saber. Crack! Heaven and earth shook, and a terrifying divine light rose. Countless runes exploded. The black battle saber in Lu Tianfeng's hand was actually broken by Ling Xiao, and the saber hand slashed onto Lu Tianfeng's chest. Lu Tianfeng felt as if he had been struck by lightning. All the bones in his body shattered, and his meridians turned into dust. He was like a pile of mud, and was instantly sent flying dozens of feet away, crashing heavily onto the ground in the distance. Boom! Smoke and dust billowed, and rocks flew everywhere. Ling Xiao's robes were whiter than snow, and his black hair fluttered in the wind. He stood there calmly, and his eyes were bright and cold. The terrifying aura emitted from his body made everyone feel as if they had fallen into an icy abyss. Tianfeng? Father? Lu Xiongshi and Lu Wan'er both exclaimed, and hurriedly ran over to help Lu Tianfeng up. Their eyes were filled with horror. Chapter 7:16. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. How could I have lost? Kid, how dare you behave so atrociously in the Shura sect? You're dead. You're dead. Lu Tianfeng's face was pale as he stared at Ling Xiao and roared madly. His eyes were filled with hatred. Clang! The battle at the entrance of the sect instantly attracted the attention of the Shura sect. A loud voice rang out. From afar, numerous powerful figures soared through the sky, emitting a monstrous baleful aura. Who dares to behave atrociously in the Shura sect? An icy cold voice resounded. It was a black-robed young man with a cold expression, and there were numerous experts in black armor standing behind him. All of them possessed terrifying auras, and they were actually all at the monarch realm or above. Moreover, there were also 4 old men who were all at the half-step exalt realm. Ha ha ha. The Shura guards are here. Ling Xiao, you're dead. Lu Xiongshi was pleasantly surprised as he laughed. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent as he looked at Ling Xiao. The Shura guards were the strongest combat experts in the Shura sect. They were the most elite disciples of the Shura sect. They were in charge of maintaining the order of the Shura sect and fighting against outsiders. The battle at the entrance of the sect had alerted the Shura guards immediately. Ling Xiao's expression was calm as he stood with his hands behind his back. He looked indifferently at the Shura guards who were flying over from afar with a faint smile in his eyes. Qing Jie, you're so impressive. Ling Xiao recognized the grim young man at the front at a glance. It was the Shura sect disciple, Qing Jie. How do you know my name? Your brother Ling. The cold young man's eyes flashed sharply. When he flew over and saw Ling Xiao's figure, his body suddenly trembled, and a trace of surprise appeared in his eyes. Brother Ling, why are you here? Why are you in conflict with the guardian elder? Qing Jie ran over excitedly. When he saw the heavily injured Lu Tianfeng in the distance, his eyes were filled with doubt. Lu Tianfeng and Lu Xiongshi shuddered. They had a bad feeling. Ling Xiao actually knew Qing Jie. Supposedly, Qing Jie was the second peerless genius in the Azura sect after Li Jingming to comprehend the heart of Azura. Even though he was very young, his cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds since he returned from the hallowed grounds. Moreover, he'd broken through several levels in succession under the tempering of the Azura battle tower. Now, he was at the 9th level of the monarch realm, and he'd even become one of the commanders of the Azura guards. The great commander of the Shura guards was none other than the Holy Son, Li Jingming. Someone wants to kill me, so I can only fight back. You can ask them. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and glanced at Lu Tianfeng and Lu Xiongshi in the distance. Qing Jie's face suddenly turned gloomy. He coldly looked at the several disciples in the distance and said, "What's going on? Speak." How could those guarding disciples dare to hide anything now? Trembling with fear, he recounted everything that had happened after Ling Xiao had arrived. Qing Jie's face darkened instantly. Lu Tianfeng, you've got guts. Do you know who he is? He's eldest senior brother's friend and savior. In the hallowed grounds, he defeated the sky-scorching demon emperor and ascended to the ascension rankings. He's the most distinguished guest of the Azura sect. I'll report this to the sect master. Men, lock them up. Qing Jie coldly shouted at Lu Tianfeng and Lu Xiongshi. What? He defeated the sky-scorching demon emperor. These few words made Lu Tianfeng and Lu Xiongshi tremble. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. You're Ling Xiao. Lu Tianfeng's voice began to tremble. Ling Xiao's defeat of the sky-scorching demon emperor had shaken the entire war god continent. He was like a rising star that had replaced the sky-scorching demon emperor's position as the peerless genius who ranked 10th on the ascension rankings. However, Lu Tianfeng did not associate Ling Xiao with the young man in front of him. After all, 2 years ago, the young man's cultivation was only at the 9th level of the sky-human realm. How could he be the peerless genius who defeated the sky-scorching demon emperor in the hallowed grounds? If Lu Tianfeng had known that the young man in front of him was the same Ling Xiao who defeated the sky-scorching demon emperor, he would not have dared to attack Ling Xiao. Lu Tianfeng and Lu Xiongshi's faces instantly turned ashen. He has grown to such a level. Defeated the sky-scorching demon emperor. Lu Wan'er's eyes widened as she said in a daze. Her pretty face was as pale as a sheet of paper without a trace of blood, as if she was in a dream. She shuddered and hurriedly pounced on Ling Xiao. She shouted loudly, "Ling Xiao, I beg you. Let my grandfather and father go. I'm willing to be a slave to atone for their sins." Ling Xiao's figure flashed and dodged her in an instant. "Miss Lu, please have some self-respect. I don't lack maids. I can spare their lives. However, it's up to the Azura sect how to deal with them. Ling Xiao said indifferently. He sighed in his heart. In the end, he still could not harden his heart to attack Lu Guqin's descendants. Take them away. Qing Jie said indifferently. With a wave of his hand, a few Azura guards with powerful auras came forward and captured Lu Tianfeng, Lu Xiongshi, and Lu Wan. No, you can't capture me. I'm Grand Elder Luo Feng's man. My daughter is Grand Elder Luo Feng's disciple. Lu Tianfeng suddenly roared. His eyes were filled with fear. He knew what it meant if he was captured by the Azura guards. A light punishment would be crippling his cultivation and banishing him from the Azura sect. A heavy punishment would be a tragic death. In this world, if one did not have cultivation, the outcome would be worse than death. Grand Elder Luo Feng, save me. Wan is your disciple. Are you going to abandon us? Lu Tianfeng shouted towards the depths of the Azura sect. When Lu Wan heard Lu Tianfeng's words, her eyes were filled with disbelief. Her body trembled and her face turned pale. Grand Elder Luo Feng had always wanted to take her as his disciple. However, Lu Tianfeng had always wanted Lu Wan to become Li Jingming's cultivation partner. Hence, this matter had been delayed. Lu Wan naturally understood that Grand Elder Luo Feng's intention to take her as his disciple was not that simple. He probably just wanted to use her as a cauldron and covet her heavenly star bloodline. Her fate would be extremely miserable. Lu Wan never thought that Lu Tianfeng would not hesitate to push her out to become Grand Elder Luo Feng's cauldron in order to survive. Grand Elder Luo Feng? Qing Jie frowned slightly. He felt that the situation had become a little tricky. Supreme Elder Luo Feng held a high position in the Azura sect. Furthermore, he was extremely passionate about the daily affairs of the Azura sect. It could be said that aside from the sect leader, Supreme Elder Luo Feng's influence was the greatest. There were faint signs that he was on par with the sect leader. Boom! As soon as Lu Tianfeng's voice fell, a powerful and terrifying aura spread throughout the Azura sect. Above the void, a divine rainbow traversed the void. An old man in a black robe with white hair and beard slowly walked out of the mountain gate. His face was ruddy, and he had the demeanor of an immortal. Grand Elder Luo Feng, save me. Lu Tianfeng was overjoyed and hurriedly shouted. This old man with white hair and beard was none other than Grand Elder Luo Feng. Qing Jie, Lu Tianfeng, and Lu Xiongshi are my people. Lu Wan is also my disciple. Hand them over to me and I will discipline them strictly. Chapter 717. Luo Feng stood in the air and exuded a powerful and vast aura. It was as if he had become one with the heavens and earth. His voice reverberated between heaven and earth, causing the air to tremble. Ling Xiao could see that the Luo Feng before him was only a sovereign celestial body and not his real body. However, a sovereign celestial body had the aura and power of a sovereign. It was clear that Luo Feng's real body was extremely powerful. Ling Xiao guessed that even if Luo Feng's cultivation was not at the 9th level of the sovereign realm, he was not far from it. Greetings to the Grand Supreme Elder. Grand Supreme Elder, Lu Tianfeng used his position to avenge private wrongs and attempted to kill the saint's good friend, Ling Xiao. He should be handed over to the law enforcement hall for punishment. I'm afraid it's against the sect rules to hand him over to you. Qing Jie cupped his fists at Luo Feng and spoke slowly. Avenge private wrongs? I don't think so. Ling Xiao did not have the saint's token. Lu Tianfeng did not allow him to enter the Shura sect because he was fulfilling his duty. As for attacking Ling Xiao, that was a private grudge and not a violation of the sect rules. Even if he did something wrong, I will discipline him strictly. Hand them over to me. Luo Feng said faintly. His voice carried a commanding tone. Ling Xiao frowned slightly. Although Luo Feng's attitude made him unhappy, this was an internal matter of the Shura sect after all. He could not say much. Moreover, Lu Wan is my disciple. This matter should be handed over to me. The Shura guards have done well. You may leave. Luo Feng glanced at Qing Jia and slowly said. His eyes fell upon Lu Wan with a strange glint in them. Lu Wan's face turned pale. She suddenly gritted her teeth and revealed a trace of determination in her eyes. Senior brother Cheng, I'm not the Grand Supreme Elder's disciple. I'm willing to accept the punishment of the Law Enforcement Hall. She knew the consequences of disobeying Luo Feng's orders. However, she also knew that if Luo Feng really took her away, she would suffer a fate worse than death. Therefore, she would rather die than become Luo Feng's cauldron. What did you say? Luo Feng's eyes flashed and his face instantly darkened. Wan, are you crazy? What nonsense are you talking about? It's your fortune that the Grand Supreme Elder is willing to take you in as his disciple. Lu Tianfeng immediately became anxious and glared fiercely at Lu Wan, as he berated her. Yes, Wan, Don't say such things out of anger. If you become the disciple of the Grand Elder, it's not impossible for you to become a supreme being in the future. We're doing this for your own good. Lu Xiongshi also advised. You're lying. Lu Wan suddenly raised her head, her eyes red. She looked at Lu Tianfeng and Lu Xiongshi with an aggrieved look. Do you think I don't know why he took me in as a disciple? He's after my heavenly star bloodline and wants me to be his cauldron. Don't you know how many female disciples he's harmed in the Shura sect? I'd rather die than do that. There was a trace of determination in Lu Wan's eyes. Bastard! You unfilial daughter. You're pissing me off. Lu Tianfeng was so angry that his entire body was trembling. Then he quickly looked at Luo Feng and said, Grand Elder, don't listen to her nonsense. We agree that Wan will be your disciple. In the future, Wan will be your person. You can do whatever you want with her. That's right, Grand Elder. Wan doesn't know any better. Please don't lower yourself to her level. She's actually willing to be your disciple. Lu Xiongshi also had a flattering smile on his face as he spoke humbly. Ha ha ha. You're really my good father, my good grandfather. Lu Wan suddenly burst out laughing. There was a trace of despair in her eyes. Her heart was like dead ashes. At this moment, Qing Jia and the other Shura sect disciples looked at Lu Tianfeng and Lu Xiongshi with disgust and disdain. In order to survive, this pair of father and son had actually given their own granddaughter and daughter to Luo Feng to be his cauldron. They had even done it in such a dignified manner. They were truly shameless to the extreme. However, in front of Grand Elder Luo Feng, they dared not say anything. Very good. I won't lower myself to Wan's level. Come with me, Wan. Luo Feng said with a satisfied smile. Then, without any explanation, he reached out his hand and grabbed at Lu Wan. Lu Wan seemed to have accepted her fate. She was like a walking corpse. Her soul had left her body, and her eyes were empty. Wait. At this moment, a calm and indifferent voice sounded. Boom. A figure stood in front of Lu Wan. At the same time, he struck out his palm. Golden light filled the air, and a bloody aura shot up into the sky. When it collided with Luo Feng's palm, it instantly caused the void to tremble. However, it managed to block Luo Feng's palm. It's him. Lu Wan's body trembled. The figure in front of her was dressed in white. He had a slender figure and looked very handsome. He gave off a very comforting feeling. Who else could it be but Ling Xiao? However, why would Ling Xiao stand up for her? In Stellar Sky City, because of her willfulness, snobbishness, and even coldness, Ling Xiao had almost died. However, Ling Xiao had displayed an extremely monstrous talent. He had broken through the layers of killing intent and killed Lu Changhe in a domineering manner. He was like a divine dragon roaring in the 9 heavens. When they met again, Ling Xiao had already defeated the sky-burning demon emperor and entered the azure sky role. Lu Wan knew that she was indeed from a different world from Ling Xiao. At this moment, she could only look up to Ling Xiao. She did not expect Ling Xiao to forgive her. In fact, she did not even know how to face Ling Xiao. Lu Tianfeng had abandoned her. Lu Xiongshi had abandoned her. Her dearest father and grandfather did not hesitate to let her become Luo Feng's cauldron in order to survive. She finally felt the coldness of this world. Her heart was like dead ashes. She had already accepted her fate. However, when the entire world had abandoned her, the person who was least likely to stand up for her, Ling Xiao, had actually stood in front of her. Lu Wan stared at Ling Xiao in a daze. Two streams of clear tears flowed down uncontrollably. She looked at Ling Xiao's back and was a little dazed. Elder Luo, since Lu Wan is unwilling to acknowledge you as her master, then you shouldn't force her. Even in the Xiaolua sect, she has the freedom to choose her own master. Ling Xiao glanced at Luo Feng indifferently. Ling Xiao, I'm afraid you're interfering too much. Luo Feng's expression darkened. A cold glint flashed in his eyes. He knew that Ling Xiao's talent was unparalleled. He had defeated the sky-burning demon emperor and entered the azure sky role. However, Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the half-step to the honorable state. As the saying goes, everyone below the honorable state is an ant. This did not mean that Ling Xiao had the right to challenge him. Big brother Ling, it's best that you don't get involved in this matter. Qing Jia also laughed bitterly and hurriedly advised. Luo Feng was famous for his tyrannical behavior in the Xiaolua sect. Moreover, he was the grand elder with the highest cultivation. Usually, he did not even take the sect leader seriously. If Ling Xiao offended him, it would not be a good thing. Lu Wan is an old friend of mine. I'm definitely going to interfere in this matter. As long as she doesn't want to do something, no one can force her. Not even you. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. His voice was clear and his expression was incomparably calm. Chapter 718. Ling Xiao's voice reverberated in the air, and the disciples of Xiaolua sect were stunned. Ling Xiao dared to say to Grand Elder Luo Feng, you can't do it either. Was it really worth it to protect a girl who seemed to have a grudge against him? The disciples of Xiaolua sect looked at Ling Xiao with admiration. No one in Xiaolua sect dared to speak to Grand Elder Luo Feng like that, but Ling Xiao did. Hearing Ling Xiao's words, Lu Wan's body trembled. She felt as if her heart had been hit by something. She covered her mouth, squatted down, and cried silently. Her tears were like a broken dam, and she could not stop them. Luo Feng's face was still indifferent, but there was a cold glint in his eyes. Good, very good. Ling Xiao, do you think you have the right to be arrogant in front of me just because you defeated the sky-burning demon emperor and entered the green cloud role? Let me tell you, I will take Lu Wan as my disciple. Luo Feng said indifferently. A formless aura pressed down on Ling Xiao. It was vast and majestic, as if the heavens and earth were pressing down on Ling Xiao. Is that so? You want to take her away? Unless you can defeat me first. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, and his eyes were filled with a strong fighting spirit. Ling Xiao had planned for a long time to kill the leopard demon venerable. He used the 5 supreme martial artists to severely injure him, and then killed him with a sword. As for Supreme Elder Luo Feng, although he was only an utmost celestial body, he possessed the battle prowess of an utmost exalted. Ling Xiao did not want to miss out on such a good whetstone. So you're saying that you want to challenge this old man? Young man, the sovereign realm is not something you can imagine. If you want to challenge me, you must be prepared to pay the price of your life. I'm afraid you can't afford to pay the price. Luo Feng said indifferently. He took a step towards Ling Xiao, and a terrifying sovereign divine aura pressed down on Ling Xiao. I'm well aware of the price. However, Grand Elder Luo, you must be prepared. If I kill this sovereign celestial body, you will become the laughing stock of the entire war god continent. Ling Xiao smiled faintly as the sword intent around him condensed. His entire being seemed to have turned into a peerless sword. His aura was sharp and piercing, and he slashed apart Luo Feng's supreme might. What a sharp-tongued brat. Since that's the case, let's fight. Luo Feng said indifferently. His eyes suddenly flashed. Rumble. He instantly made his move. The divine might of a supreme being emanated from his body, and the laws of heaven and earth were added to his body. He threw a punch at Ling Xiao, and the sky was filled with black murderous aura, which condensed into a gigantic fist that was incomparably powerful. Although Ling Xiao had defeated the sky-burning demon emperor, he did not think that Ling Xiao had the strength to defeat him. In particular, Ling Xiao's appearance was too deceiving. He looked like a delicate and pretty young man, and his aura was not strong either. It was very easy for people to overlook his strength and underestimate him. Let's fight. A sharp glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes as he threw out a punch as well. Crack! Golden lightning instantly burst out, and the golden aura around Ling Xiao shot up to the sky. In an instant, he seemed to have turned into a golden dragon, and his entire body was exuding a terrifying dragon's might. The gigantic fist was like a dragon's claw, and it pierced through the sky. Bang! The two fists collided, and the void rumbled violently. Ling Xiao and Luo Feng trembled, and a blazing divine light burst out from between them. They could not help but retreat a few dozen feet. The superpower of the Dragon Clan? Brat, don't think that you can be arrogant just because you have a strong physical body. The power of a supreme being is not something you can imagine. A sharp glint flashed in Luo Feng's eyes, and he became slightly dignified. Ling Xiao's physical strength was extremely terrifying. He was actually no weaker than him. Moreover, the unparalleled physical strength seemed to be able to break through everything with brute force. The powerful laws of sovereigns were actually unable to do anything to him. Great Shura Palm! Luo Feng shouted, and killing intent flashed in his eyes. He threw out a palm across the sky. Black baleful aura filled the air, and the world seemed to have fallen into darkness. A terrifying palm print fell from the 9 heavens, as if it had enveloped the entire Azura palm. Great Shura Palm. Well, I guess I'll use you to test out the final 4 lives of the 7 limitations technique. 7 stars heaven-shattering stance. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and he instantly flew towards the palm print in the sky. Rumble. He punched out, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. The sky above the 9 heavens seemed to have been torn apart in an instant. The 7 supreme stars were dazzling, and streaks of terrifying starlight condensed on Ling Xiao's fist. The 7 paragon stars seemed to be descending from the highest heavens, and they radiated a towering aura as they bore down on Luo Feng. This was the 4th stance of the 7 limitations technique. The final 4 stances could only be cultivated by the Heaven Devourer Cauldron, and they contained the power to shatter the void. Only paragons could shatter the void, and the 7 stars heaven-shattering stance indicated that Ling Xiao had the battle prowess of a paragon. Ruyuumble. Heaven and earth trembled as Ling Xiao's fist slammed into the great Shura palm, and the 7 paragon stars exploded, shattering the void and causing spatial turbulence to erupt. Luo Feng's expression flickered as he sensed the power of the 7 paragons of god power crashing into him. His arm trembled, and he staggered backward a dozen or so paces. Ling Xiao's move succeeded, and he immediately pressed forward, shouting coldly, "Take another move of mine, 8 desolations burning heaven style." Rumble. The real devouring fire instantly spread out from Ling Xiao's body and turned into 8 flaming dragons around him. Their aura was monstrous and ferocious. They were surrounded by blazing flames and charged towards Luo Feng. Armageddon Azura Saber. Die! Luo Feng shouted, his eyes flickering with shock. Then he unleashed a palm strike that resembled a snow-white blade of light, slashing toward the 8 true dragons. Rumble. The sky above the Azura sect shook violently as boundless flames filled the sky. The intense battle between Ling Xiao and Luo Feng seemed to have ignited a true flame, causing the distant mountains to tremble violently. As for the Xiaolua sect disciples below, they were merely swept by the aftershocks. Their bodies trembled as their eyes were filled with disbelief. Big brother Ling Xiao is even stronger than he was back in the holy ground. Could it be that he's really going to kill a paragon? Qing Jia exclaimed, his eyes filled with disbelief. Back in the holy ground, Ling Xiao had defeated the heaven-scorching demon emperor, and his invincible figure had been branded into Qing Jia's heart. Chapter 719. He's not a supreme being, but he has the combat strength of a supreme being. He's indeed a divine dragon that soars through the 9 heavens. He'll eventually stand at the peak of the entire war god continent. Lu Wan sighed softly. Her eyes sparkled as she fell into a daze. The battle between Ling Xiao and Grand Elder Luo Feng shocked everyone. The peerless geniuses on the Green Cloud leaderboard could be said to be the most dazzling group of people in the entire war god continent. Becoming a supreme being was not their end. They even had hopes of reaching the legendary unparalleled divine realm. And today, they had seen it. Lu Tianfeng and Lu Xingshi's faces were drained of blood. Their eyes were filled with fear. Facing Ling Xiao, they did not even have the slightest bit of jealousy. How could an ant be jealous of a divine dragon? An ant's heart would only be filled with endless respect because the gap between them was too great. They suddenly had a feeling that a disaster was about to befall them. If Ling Xiao really stopped Luo Feng, Grand Elder Luo Feng would not help them in his anger. It's all that bitch's fault. She doesn't care about the father-daughter relationship at all. She wants us dead. Lu Tianfeng looked at Lu Wan, with resentment in his eyes. Rumble. The battle in the sky above Xiaolua sect was getting more and more intense. Soon, it attracted the attention of the Xiaolua sect's higher-ups. Whoosh! In the depths of Xiaolua sect, a few powerful auras swept across the sky, exuding a wave that shook the heavens and the earth. It was a middle-aged man in a black robe. His black hair fluttered in the wind. He looked extraordinarily handsome. His eyes were deep and filled with a domineering aura that looked down on the world. Behind him were 2 old men who exuded a lethargic aura. Their hair and beards were white, their faces were full of wrinkles, and their eyes were cloudy. However, the cold aura that exuded from their eyes made one feel as if the depths of one's soul had been frozen. Sect leader the Honorable. Qing Jia's eyes widened. He hurriedly went up and bowed. Greetings, Sect leader the Honorable. Greetings, Sect leader the Honorable. All the Xiaolua sect disciples hurriedly bowed as well. Get up. Qing Jia, tell us what's going on. The middle-aged man in the black robe was Xirenwang, the Honorable of Xiaolua sect. He looked at the battle in the sky with a strange look in his eyes. Sect leader the sects. Sect leader, it's like this. Qing Jia recounted what had happened. Oh. Is he Ling Xiao? Being able to fight Luo Feng with a cultivation of the half-martial highness realm, his talent is indeed terrifying. The Shuren king looked at Ling Xiao's figure in the sky and sighed. Sect master, do you want us to separate them? An old man behind the Shuren monarch slowly said. What kind of scandal is this? No need. If they want to fight, then let them fight. I want to see what level Ling Xiao's current combat strength has reached. The Shuren king smiled faintly as his eyes sparkled. Above the void, Ling Xiao and Luo Feng had already exchanged over 100 blows. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled. Dazzling divine light crisscrossed. Ling Xiao used the 7-star sky-shattering style and the 8 desolation burning sky style. He gradually gained the upper hand and launched an intense battle against Luo Feng. Luo Feng's face darkened, his eyes filled with incomparable shock. He suddenly realized that he had indeed underestimated Ling Xiao. How could a peerless genius who could defeat the sky-burning demon emperor be so simple? He was now in a difficult position. Even if he defeated Ling Xiao, the Shuren king was already here and he could not kill Ling Xiao. However, if he lost to Ling Xiao, then he would lose face. Bang! Ling Xiao and Luo Feng collided. The void trembled and the two of them were sent flying. Ling Xiao looked unscathed, but Luo Feng's aura had weakened. It was obvious that he had suffered some injuries. Ling Xiao, you are indeed strong. However, in this battle, it will inevitably affect the Xiaolua sect. Let's settle this in one move. As long as you win, Lu Wan, will be yours. Luo Feng said coldly. Settle this in one move. Sure. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. The aura around him rose and the battle intent in his eyes soared to the extreme. Rumble. Murderous intent flashed in Luo Feng's eyes. Black murderous intent filled his body and a black battle saber appeared in his palm. The sky and earth became gloomy and dark. Apocalyptic Azura, the heavens and earth mourn. Kill. 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 Luo Feng suddenly shouted and slashed at Ling Xiao with his saber. The void in all directions seemed to have become sticky. Crimson blood rain fell from the sky and ominous aura surged from the ground. Luo Feng's saber seemed to have filled the entire sky. The black saber radiance contained the power to destroy everything and exuded a divine power that could destroy the world. Ling Xiao could not dodge this saber. The forbidden move of the apocalyptic Azura and the heaven and earth mourn palm. Sect leader, Luo Feng wants to kill Ling Xiao. Behind the Shuren king, an old man exclaimed. His eyes revealed a trace of seriousness. This move contained the ultimate killing power. Even if the old man was also a supreme being, he would have to pay a hefty price if he wanted to receive this attack. No worries. Ling Xiao's life will not be in danger. The Shuren king said slowly. His eyes revealed a trace of sharpness. In the face of this saber, the aura around Ling Xiao seemed to have been retracted. A terrifying killing intent was brewing in his body. Finally, with a roar, it erupted like a volcano. 9 killing ultimate style. The sky-devouring sword appeared in Ling Xiao's hand. At this moment, the sword radiance of the sky-devouring sword dimmed as if it had lost its sharpness. Ling Xiao held it tightly and instantly slashed out 9 times. The 9 swords crossed the sky. It was as if the black lines of the law were fluctuating. A terrifying and dark killing aura exploded. This was the second most powerful killing move among the 7 limits divine techniques of the devouring heaven and earth mourn palm. It contained the power to destroy all life. Boom! A dark radiance instantly engulfed Luo Feng and Ling Xiao. The saber radiance and the sword radiance flashed. The terrifying divine radiance rose like a wave. The terrifying aura swept out, causing the Xiaolua sect disciples below to be shocked. 9 killing ultimate style. 7 limits divine techniques of the devouring heaven and earth mourn palm. Is it really you? The Shuren king's eyes trembled and revealed a trace of anticipation. In the end, all the divine radiance was annihilated at the same time. Ling Xiao stood in the air with the sky-devouring sword in his hand. Opposite him, Luo Feng had already been slashed in half by his sword. Only an illusory primordial spirit was left struggling to hold on. You! How is this possible? Luo Feng's eyes were filled with disbelief. He had used the forbidden move of the apocalyptic Azura saber. He did not expect that he still could not kill Ling Xiao. He did not even manage to injure Ling Xiao. The 9 killing ultimate style had directly shattered Luo Feng's sovereign celestial body. Although this sovereign celestial body only had the cultivation and combat strength of a level 1 supreme being, it was still a genuine supreme being expert. Chapter 720. You've lost. Ling Xiao said calmly. The sky-devouring sword flashed and he put it away. Ha ha ha. Very good. I'll remember you. Ling Xiao, wait until I return from the extraterritorial world, then I'll challenge you again. Luo Feng laughed heartily. He took a deep look at Ling Xiao and instantly turned into a rain of light, disappearing into the void. The sovereign celestial body had fallen. Lu Tianfeng and Lu Xiongshi were so scared that their faces turned pale. Their eyes were filled with fear. They never thought that Ling Xiao didn't defeat Luo Feng, but killed him. Defeating and killing were two completely different concepts. The entire Shura sect was silent. Everyone was stunned. At this moment, the news of Ling Xiao killing the leopard demon venerable had not spread. That was why the result of Ling Xiao killing Luo Feng's sovereign celestial body was so shocking. This was the second sovereign that Ling Xiao had killed. Ling Xiao looked at the Shuren king in the distance with a strange look in his eyes. It was probably because the sect leader had allowed it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to kill Luo Feng's sovereign celestial body without anyone stopping him. Alright, all of you can leave now. Qing Jie, take Lu Tianfeng and Lu Xiongshi away and punish them according to the sect rules. Take Lu Wan, away too. Make sure she's well taken care of. The Shuren king said indifferently. Yes. Qing Jie's eyes turned cold as he bowed and said. The Shura guards came forward and grabbed the pale Lu Tianfeng and Lu Xiongshi. Lu Wan, looked at Ling Xiao with a complicated expression and left with Qing Jie. Ling Xiao. You defeated the sky-burning demon emperor in the holy ground. I didn't expect you to have the combat strength of a sovereign in such a short time. Your talent is unparalleled. The Shuren king looked at Ling Xiao and smiled. I have to thank the sect leader. If you had stopped me, I wouldn't have had the chance to kill him. Ling Xiao said with a smile. He saw a different emotion in the Shuren king's eyes. His heart skipped a beat. Could it be that the Shuren king recognized him? In his previous life, it could be said that he and Supreme Azura were both enemies and friends. There was competition between the two of them, but they also appreciated each other's talents. However, their relationship was also very good. Supreme Azura's weapon, the Azura Heaven-Slaying Blade, was forged by Ling Xiao for him. The Azura Supreme was very familiar with Ling Xiao's weapons and martial arts. If the Shuren king was a descendant of the Azura Supreme, he might be able to recognize him. Ling Xiao, come with me. The Shuren king smiled faintly and flew into the depths of the Shiolua sect with Ling Xiao. Outside Azura sect were 49 divine mountains that formed the Great Azura Divine Formation. The floating divine mountain at the center was the main peak. It was 10,000 zhang tall and had a majestic aura. It emitted powerful supreme being Dao marks, representing the escaped one. The Shuren monarch brought Ling Xiao to the top of the mountain and into a black palace. Azura Palace. Ling Xiao sighed softly. This divine floating mountain was exactly the same as it was 10,000 years ago. Nothing had changed. He could still remember the scene of him and Sovereign Azura sparring in the Azura Palace 10,000 years ago, drinking and chatting happily. However, as time passed, it was no longer the same as before. In the center of the Azura Palace, there was a black stone box. It was 1 zhang wide and 1 meter long. The Shuren king slowly opened the stone box. A bright light shone and a sharp blade intent spread out. It emitted an aura that could destroy everything. It was a long black blade. It was as black as ink and 9 feet long. The blade was as thin as a cicada's wing. It emitted a monstrous baleful aura. With a slight tremble, it seemed like it could shatter the void. This was a peerless ferocious blade. When Ling Xiao saw the saber, he was stunned. This was because this blade was the weapon he had forged for Supreme Azura, the Azura Heaven-Slaying Blade. 10,000 years ago, the name of the Azura Heaven-Slaying Blade shook the world. It accompanied Supreme Azura and killed one enemy after another. It swept through the world and finally became a titled Azura. However, there were a few nicks on the blade of the Azura Heaven-Slaying Blade. Black demonic blood flowed out and it was tainted with an ominous aura. Buzz! The moment the Azura Heaven-Slaying Blade opened the box, it began to buzz and tremble. It emitted a trace of excitement and intimacy as it slowly floated up. The handle of the blade floated in front of Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao unconsciously grabbed it. Boom! A vast and powerful aura spread out. Terrifying killing intent surged. The entire Azura palace trembled as if it was about to be destroyed by this terrifying killing intent. You are Ling Xiao. The strongest person in the world 10,000 years ago, the sky-devouring supreme Ling Xiao. The Shuren king said word by word, looking at Ling Xiao with eyes full of excitement. You recognize me? Are you the son or grandson of Azura? Ling Xiao looked at the Shuren king and said slowly. When the Shuren king brought him to the Azura palace and took out the Azura heaven-slaying blade in front of him, Ling Xiao knew that the Shuren king was trying to verify something. The Azura heaven-slaying blade was forged by Ling Xiao. It was like he was his own son. Only Ling Xiao could cause the Azura heaven-slaying blade to manifest such a phenomenon. Senior Ling Xiao, is it really you? I am the Shuren king. Azura is my father. The Shuren king took a deep breath. His eyes were filled with joy. He had already guessed it. That was why he had asked the disciples of the Azura sect, such as Qing Jia and Li Jingming, to come to the Azura sect. Now that he saw the phenomenon of the Azura heaven-slaying blade with his own eyes, the Shuren king was sure that the young man in front of him was Ling Xiao. Senior Ling Xiao, 10,000 years ago, my father heard that you were ambushed by the Supreme True Dragon. He was furious and wanted to find the Supreme True Dragon to avenge you. However, he couldn't find the whereabouts of the Supreme True Dragon. After that, the calamity that swept across the War God continent happened. My father told me that he believed that you wouldn't die just like that. You will definitely come back. The Shuren king said slowly. When Ling Xiao, the number one supreme true dragon from 10,000 years ago, appeared in front of him, even his eyes were filled with disbelief. Azura, how is he now? Ling Xiao sighed softly, a trace of emotion in his eyes. Father isn't dead. But he's not much different from death. The Shuren king laughed bitterly. What happened? Ling Xiao frowned. In the calamity 10,000 years ago, father was seriously injured. When he was about to die, he used the legendary Time Divine Wood to create a coffin and buried himself in the Thousand Coffin Mountain. Time Divine Wood. Thousand Coffin Mountain. Chapter 721. The Thousand Coffin Mountain was one of the 8 great forbidden grounds. It contained an endless amount of life and death energy. Anyone who was buried in the Thousand Coffin Mountain would become a zombie, similar to the zombies in the God Burial Cave. Moreover, many experts who were nearing the end of their lifespan would choose to be buried in the Thousand Coffin Mountain to extend their lifespan. They hoped that if their descendants could become gods in the future, they would be able to extend their lifespan as well. However, there were too few experts who could be buried in the Thousand Coffin Mountain. After all, coffins were hard to find. Only treasures like the divine wood of time could be forged into coffins and buried in the Thousand Coffin Mountain. As for ordinary experts, they would probably be struck by the life and death energy and turn into zombies. That's right. When father buried himself in the Thousand Coffin Mountain, he told me that you would definitely come back. He also told me about your martial arts, weapons, and other information. He also left behind the Azura heaven-slashing saber and told me to find you no matter what. However, I didn't expect that I would wait for over 10,000 years. The Shuren king sighed. He had also lived for over 10,000 years. If he hadn't swallowed a treasure to extend his lifespan would have already withered and turned into dust. The Shuren king had always asked the Shura sect disciples to keep an eye out for people similar to Ling Xiao. When Ling Xiao stepped onto the War God continent for the first time and gradually revealed his martial arts, the Shuren king became suspicious. However, at that time, he only suspected that Ling Xiao was the successor of the Sky Devourer Supreme. It wasn't until Ling Xiao came to the Shura sect and personally witnessed the Shura heaven-slaying blade that he confirmed that the youth before him was the Sky Devourer Supreme from 10,000 years ago. Although being buried in the Thousand Coffin Mountain can extend one's lifespan, it will also link one's lifespan with the life and death energy of the Thousand Coffin Mountain. However, don't worry, I will find a way to save your father. Ling Xiao sighed softly. If one wanted to escape the restrictions of the Thousand Coffin Mountain, the only way was to become a god and ascend to the divine realm. However, although there were countless legends in the past million years, Ling Xiao knew that the heavenly Tao was flawed. The path to becoming a god had been cut off. Otherwise, Supreme True Dragon wouldn't have ambushed him 10,000 years ago just for the Scarlet Dragon War God's godhead. Thank you, Senior Ling Xiao. My father said that the reason he was struggling at death's door was not because he cherished his life. Instead, he wanted to preserve his last bit of lifespan to avenge you. For so many years, we've been searching for the whereabouts of Supreme True Dragon, but since 10,000 years ago, he seemed to have vanished into thin air, never appearing on the War God continent again. Shuren King said slowly. Is there no news of the Supreme True Dragon? The heavenly path has been severed. Regardless of whether it is the previous life or this life, there is no way for him to ascend to the divine realm. However, I believe that he must still be on the War God continent. However, he has obtained the Scarlet Dragon War God's godhead. Perhaps he has already ascended to godhood and has a long lifespan. In this life, I will definitely find him. Ling Xiao said indifferently with a sharp glint in his eyes. After Ling Xiao finished speaking, he glanced at the Shuren King and said, You've probably been stuck at the 9th level of the Venerable Realm for many years, right? Was there still no way to attain a title? Moreover, the Azura sect isn't peaceful now. That Luo Feng doesn't even care about you. A Venerable had a lifespan of 10,000 years. Although attaining a title wouldn't increase one's lifespan, it was still a step closer to the legendary divine realm. If a venerable expert could consume a quasi-divine medicine or even a supreme divine medicine, it could also increase their lifespan. This was the reason why Long Lai and the Shuren King had already lived for over 10,000 years. However, they didn't have much lifespan left. If they couldn't break through to the divine realm within 1,000 years, they might still turn into dust. Attaining a title is easier said than done. I've been stuck at the 9th level of the Venerable Realm for 2,000 years. The Shuren King sighed softly. As for Luo Feng, he's someone from my father's generation. Now that he doesn't have much lifespan left, it's natural that he's becoming more and more unreasonable. However, keeping him alive is just to lure out the person behind him. The person behind Luo Feng? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Ling Xiao estimated that even if Luo Feng hadn't reached the 9th level of the Venerable Realm, he should be close. Then who is the person behind him? A titled Venerable? These past few years, the War God continent appeared to be very peaceful. But there's an undercurrent surging. I can faintly sense that someone wants to stir up trouble. They've planted quite a few experts in the various holy lands. Perhaps the War God Temple is behind this. The Shuren King's eyes flashed with a cold light as he slowly spoke. War God Temple. This faction that claims to be the strongest in the War God continent has indeed started to jump around recently. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he slowly spoke. From when Divine General Wu Chang captured Luo to when the Sky Demon Palace targeted the Water Crystal Palace, the War God Temple also appeared. Ling Xiao felt that the War God Temple wasn't simple. 10,000 years ago, the War God Temple was very low-key. However, the current War God Temple's whereabouts were very secretive, as if they were secretly plotting some scheme. The Shuren King nodded and said, Senior Ling Xiao, you're going to participate in this year's Heaven's Choice Convention, right? I've always felt that there's something wrong with the Heaven's Choice Convention hosted by the War God Temple, especially in the past 10,000 years. However, after every Heaven's Choice Convention, there's always a peerless genius who proves their Tao to be a venerable. Therefore, I haven't discovered any schemes. Senior, you have to be careful this time. Heaven's Choice Convention. I'll use this opportunity to probe the War God Temple's background. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a sharp light. In his previous life, Ling Xiao didn't participate in the Heaven's Choice Convention, but he was very clear about the Time Cave. The Time Cave was like a sealed ancient world. It was extremely mysterious and contained endless secrets. There were even gods' inheritance ruins. However, the outside of the Time Cave was filled with the chaotic power of time. The flow of time was extremely fast. Even a venerable expert could very well die from the exhaustion of their lifespan. Therefore, the Time Cave was the forbidden area that venerable experts were the least willing to step into among the 8 great forbidden grounds. The Heaven's Choice Convention was held in the Time Cave. It was said that the flow of time inside was a terrifying 1 to 100. In other words, 1 year outside was equivalent to 100 years inside the Time Cave. There were even some terrifying places where the ratio was 1 to 1,000, or even 1 to 10,000. Ling Xiao participated in the Heaven's Choice Convention for 2 reasons. First, he wanted to test his sword against the heroes of the world. He wanted to sharpen his martial cultivation and strive to step into the venerable realm as soon as possible. Second, he wanted to investigate the War God Temple's purpose in holding the Heaven's Choice Convention. Chapter 722. Senior Ling Xiao, this is the Supreme Elder token of the Shura sect. Would you be willing to become the Supreme Elder of the Shura sect? The Shuren King took out a black token with a look of anticipation in his eyes. The young man in front of him might only be a half-step supreme now, but he was the strongest supreme 10,000 years ago. When he grew up, he would bring great benefits to the Shura sect. Over the years, the Shura sect and the Sky Demon Palace had many conflicts. However, the Shura sect had suffered a lot because of the Great Sun Demon Venerable. Supreme Elder of the Shura sect. I have offended Luo Feng, and I am only a half-step supreme. Aren't you afraid that the Shura sect will be laughed at? Ling Xiao looked at the Shuren King with a faint smile. The Shuren King laughed and said, Senior Ling Xiao, the world is ignorant. If they know your identity, the War God Shrine will not be able to sit still. I am looking forward to the moment when Senior Ling Xiao returns to the peak and announces to the world that you are the Sky-Devouring Supreme. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and took the Grand Supreme Elder's token, saying, All right. I will accept the Supreme Elder of the Shura sect. However, you must promise that Luo Feng will not find trouble with me again. Also, you must teach Lu Wan well. She is the descendant of Lu Guqin. If her Heavenly Star bloodline can be fully awakened, it will not be a problem for her to become a supreme in the future. Don't worry, Luo Feng will not find trouble with you again. You are saying that Lu Wan, is the descendant of the Heavenly Star Lu Guqin? The Shuren King quickly promised. However, when he heard that Lu Wan, was the descendant of Lu Guqin, he was slightly shocked. Lu Guqin was one of the 7 direct disciples of Ling Xiao. The Heavenly Star bloodline was also one of the top bloodlines. Why would Ling Xiao not teach her himself? However, when he thought of Lu Tianfeng and Lu Wan, he understood Ling Xiao's intention. Alright, don't worry. I will accept Lu Wan, as my disciple. You have given me a peerless genius. The Shuren King smiled. Also, I will be cultivating in the Shura Battle Tower for a few months before the Chosen One. If there is nothing important, do not disturb me. Ling Xiao took the Supreme Elder's token and left the Azura Palace, leaving behind a message. Soon, the news of Ling Xiao becoming the Supreme Elder of the Azura sect spread throughout the Azura sect. Many of the Shura sect disciples were shocked. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. However, when they thought of Ling Xiao's insane combat power, they silently agreed. Although Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the level of a half-honorable, he had the combat strength of a honorable. It was definitely the Shura sect's fortune to have such a peerless genius on the Azure Sky Roll willing to become the Supreme Elder of the Shura sect. It didn't take long for the news of the battle in the Flaming Mountain to spread. The news of Ling Xiao killing the Leopard Demon Venerable on the Flaming Mountain shocked everyone. Killing 2 supreme martial artists in a row, Ling Xiao would probably advance a few places on the Azure Sky Roll, right? This kind of heaven-defying battle prowess quickly spread throughout the war god continent. The entire war god continent was in an uproar. As for Lu Wan, she was announced to be the last disciple of the Shuren king. One had to know that in the entire Azura sect, only Li Jingming was the disciple of the Shuren king. Now, there was another disciple, Lu Wan, Everyone suddenly thought of Ling Xiao. Could it be that the sect leader suddenly accepting Lu Wan, as a disciple had something to do with Ling Xiao? When Lu Wan heard the news, her face was filled with disbelief. In the end, tears streamed down her face. She couldn't understand why Ling Xiao would help her when she treated him so badly. At this moment, Ling Xiao had already entered the Azura Battle Tower. The Azura Battle Tower was a secret treasure of the Azura sect. It contained the 7 realms of Rakshasa, Azura, Great Azura, Azura, Azura King, Azura Venerable, and Azura God. The Azura Battle Tower was a place to hone one's combat strength. The difficulty of breaking through each realm was 10 times or even 100 times more difficult than the previous realm. For example, Ling Xiao's cultivation was at the level of a half honorable. In the Rakshasa realm, all his enemies were at the level of a half honorable. In the Azura realm, his enemies were at the level of a half honorable who had survived the Great Earth Tribulation. In the highest Azura realm, his enemies were at the 2nd level of the Venerable realm. The most important thing was that the enemies in each world were endless and they didn't fear death. The people who had been training in the Azura Battle Tower had all experienced the feeling of being on the edge of life and death. Therefore, training in the Azura Battle Tower was the fastest way to improve one's cultivation and combat strength. The battle maniacs in the Azura sect were all trained in the Azura Battle Tower. Ling Xiao knew that Li Jingming was now in the Azura Battle Tower. Beside the floating sacred mountain of the Azura sect, there was a huge black stone tower that was thousands of feet tall. It emitted an ancient and majestic aura. According to legend, the Azura Battle Tower was left behind by the founder of the Azura sect, the Azura war god who had ascended to the divine world. The Longevity Tower of the Longevity sect was refined by Ling Xiao using the Azura Battle Tower as a reference. I want to enter the Azura Battle Tower. The Supreme Elder's token appeared in Ling Xiao's hand. Immediately, the disciples guarding the tower became extremely respectful. Supreme Elder Ling, please enter. Rumble. The huge door of the Azura Battle Tower slowly opened, emitting a bright light as if it was leading to another world. Ling Xiao instantly turned into a stream of light and entered the Azura Battle Tower. He's Supreme Elder Ling Xiao. He looks so young. He's so delicate and pretty. He's younger than me, right? How could he destroy Supreme Elder Luo Feng's sovereign celestial body? Sure. Don't talk nonsense. This Supreme Elder Ling Xiao is a peerless genius that has ascended the Ascension rankings. His natural talent is peerless, and he's peerlessly formidable. I witnessed the battle between him and Supreme Elder Luo Feng with my own 2 eyes. Senior Brother Wang, what's going on? Come and tell us. As soon as Ling Xiao entered the Azura Battle Tower, a group of disciples guarding the tower began to discuss. Their eyes were filled with incomparable curiosity. In the Azura Battle Tower, Ling Xiao appeared in a vast expanse of empty space, surrounded by a boundless wilderness. The air was filled with a terrifying baleful aura. Roar! As if it had smelled the aura of a living being, a terrifying roar was heard. A huge figure flew over from afar. It was a Rakshasa with a sharp horn on its head and dark brown skin. It was more than 3 feet tall and had black scales on its arms. Its eyes were filled with cruelty and bloodthirst. It had the cultivation of a half-step sovereign, which was the same as Ling Xiao's cultivation. Without any hesitation, it pounced on Ling Xiao. The Rakshasa was an ancient evil spirit. Although this Rakshasa was only a battle spirit condensed by the Azura Battle Tower, it retained the fighting instincts of a Rakshasa and was not afraid of death. Even a half-step sovereign would not be a match for such a Rakshasa. But unfortunately, it encountered Ling Xiao. Let's fight. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and he immediately punched out. Chapter 723. Boom! Dazzling fist radiance swept across the sky. The Rakshasa was instantly blasted apart by Ling Xiao, turning into a cloud of black mist in the air. The Rakshasa was a battle spirit that was branded in the Shura battle tower. It could be revived indefinitely. Therefore, when Ling Xiao killed the Rakshasa, more than 10 Rakshasas appeared beside him, roaring as they charged towards him. These Rakshasas were extremely strong. They had copper skin and iron bones, and they were not afraid of death. They had extremely strong battle instincts. Even the disciples of the Shura sect who entered the Shura battle tower for the first time would find it difficult to deal with one Rakshasa, let alone more than 10 Rakshasas. Basically, if a disciple of the Shura sect was surrounded by more than 10 Rakshasas, he would immediately be teleported out of the Shura battle tower. However, the number of Rakshasas was meaningless to Ling Xiao. No matter how many Rakshasas there were, they could not withstand a single punch from Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao only felt the combat strength of the Rakshasas for a moment before he left the Rakshasa realm and arrived at the second level of the Shura realm. In the Shura realm, the Shuras whose cultivation was comparable to the Great Earth Tribulation were even stronger. As soon as they saw Ling Xiao, they bared their fangs and brandished their claws. Rumble. The heavens and earth trembled as the fist radiance was dazzling. When one Asura was killed, more Asuras pounced on him. In the Shura realm, one could guide the Asuras according to their thoughts. Many disciples of the Shura sect started with one Asura, 2 Asuras, and gradually increased the difficulty. Who would be like Ling Xiao? As soon as he appeared, he led more than 100 Asuras to follow behind him and attack Ling Xiao. However, they all died in Ling Xiao's hands in the end. However, the Asuras in the Shura realm did not pose any difficulty to Ling Xiao. Rakshasa realm, Shura realm, Great Shura realm, Asura realm, Ling Xiao passed the levels extremely quickly. In just a few hours, he had reached the 5th level, the Shura King realm. Ling Xiao's actions also alarmed many of the experts who were cultivating in the Shura sect. Who is this guy? He's only a half-step supreme being. Isn't he too powerful? A group of Asuras comparable to the tribulation of 3 divine beasts was killed by him. His combat strength is terrifying. When I saw senior brother, he did not dare to be so impudent when facing a group of Asuras. Senior brother. Could it be that another peerless genius of Shura sect has appeared in our Shura sect? That's not right, this kid looks unfamiliar. Something big must have happened that we don't know about. Go out and ask. Ling the Shura sect was the Shura realm. Where the Shura sect's disciples was. And many of Shura into of disciples were. The of Shura realm of Shura realm. Shura Shasasura. Of. Supreme Shura. Shura, of Elder Shura. 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 What? Ling Xiao. I've heard that in the holy ground, Ling Xiao was the one who saved the eldest brother. He is simply too fierce, I don't know how many levels of the Asura battle tower he can pass. The Shura sect's disciples soon learned of Ling Xiao's identity. Their eyes were filled with shock and admiration. The Shura sect's disciples worshipped the strong. Li Jingming was the idol of all the Shura sect's disciples. Now that they realized that Ling Xiao was even stronger, it immediately aroused their fanatical admiration. Many of the stronger disciples and elders gave up their training and followed Ling Xiao. They wanted to see how far Ling Xiao could go. In the Shura battle tower, as long as they hid their aura, they could even enter the Shura realm of the 7th Shura realm. However, the Shura realm was too strong. They were no match for it, so there was no point in entering. However, now that a freak like Ling Xiao had appeared, their curiosity was piqued. The 5th Shura realm. Ling Xiao had just arrived in this realm when he sensed the powerful aura on his body. Black light surged in front of him and instantly condensed into an Shura king. This Shura king was about 9 feet tall. He wore black armor and held a mace in his hand. His muscles were bulging, and he was filled with explosive power. His face was ugly, and his eyes were filled with ferocious murderous intent. Without saying a word, he instantly rushed toward Ling Xiao. His speed was extremely fast, and he was like a black divine light. His mace smashed toward Ling Xiao's head. The Shura king was comparable to a half-step sovereign in the tribulation of 4 symbols. This Shura king seemed to have retained his battle consciousness and combat strength. In Ling Xiao's opinion, he was only slightly weaker than the sky-burning demon emperor. Good timing. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he punched out. He had entered the Shura battle tower to sharpen his cultivation and condense his murderous intent. The first 4 levels of the Shura king's world were not a threat. But this level of the Shura king's world was a little interesting. Rumble. Ling Xiao was not in a hurry to kill this Shura king. Instead, he continued to familiarize himself with the Shura king's battle consciousness. Bit by bit, he neutralized the Shura king's mystical abilities. In the blink of an eye, he had exchanged over 100 blows. It had to be said that the Shura clan's battle talent was extremely strong. They could always seize the opportunity in an instant and attack in the most efficient and powerful way. If Ling Xiao was still in the same realm as when he fought the sky-burning demon emperor, this battle would not have ended so easily. However, Ling Xiao's combat strength had improved by leaps and bounds. He had even killed 2 supreme beings. Although this Shura king was strong, it was still no match for Ling Xiao. After 100 blows, Ling Xiao killed the Shura king with a single punch. Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao had originally planned to lure more Shura kings, but he heard a very familiar voice. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he saw Li Jingming in a mountain range in the distance. He had just killed an Shura king and was exuding an extremely powerful murderous aura. So it's brother Li. Ling Xiao smiled slightly and went to greet Li Jingming. Brother Ling, you actually came to the Shura sect? Ha ha ha. You must have met the sect master, right? Is the sect master satisfied with you? If you're willing, I'll let you have my position as the great true disciple. Li Jingming was dressed in a black robe. His body was slender and handsome, and his black hair was flying in the wind. His face was handsome, and his eyes were extremely sharp. His entire body was exuding an extremely powerful battle intent. He was obviously very happy to see Ling Xiao. I've met the sect master, and I might have offended a supreme elder. Ling Xiao smiled and told him everything that had happened since he entered the Shura sect. What? You killed Supreme Elder Luo Feng's Supreme Being's celestial body and became the Supreme Elder of the Shura sect? Li Jingming was completely shocked. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Chapter 724. After a long time, he laughed bitterly and said, I was working hard in my cultivation with the intention of fighting you. But now it would seem like the gap between us is growing wider and wider. You possess the brilliant accomplishment of annihilating an exalt, so you can even be ranked at the top of the ascension rankings. You're really a monster. Li Jingming had passed the 3 divine tribulations and his aura was extremely powerful. His essence, qi, and spirit were condensed. Apparently, he had gained a lot of benefits in the holy ground, which allowed him to pass 2 tribulations in a year and improve his cultivation by leaps and bounds. It would not be long before Li Jingming could pass the fire tribulation and condense a supreme celestial body. At that time, even if he encountered the sky-burning demon emperor, he would be able to fight. After all, Ling Xiao knew how terrifying the Azura Supreme Sutra was. The genius disciples of the Azura sect were a group of battle maniacs. I was just lucky. Ling Xiao smiled slightly. Don't be so modest. In this Azura King realm, I spent several days to kill an Azura King. But in the end, you easily killed an Azura King. The gap between us is just too great. You can continue to cultivate. When we leave the Azura battle tower, we'll catch up. Li Jingming shook his head as if he had suffered a great blow. Okay. Ling Xiao smiled and said. He separated from Li Jingming and instantly released his powerful aura to attract the Azura kings. Boom! Black light surged in the void and instantly, 18 Azura kings appeared. Each of them had a terrifying aura and their eyes were burning with killing intent. They held various weapons in their hands and pounced on Ling Xiao. Good timing. For divine tribulation's sky-striking style. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with powerful fighting intent. He instantly threw out a punch. The 4 divine tribulations shot up into the sky and transformed into the power of the 4 elements of earth, water, wind, and fire. They recreated the chaos and suppressed the 18 Azura kings. Even a true sovereign expert would have to spend a lot of effort to deal with 18 Azura kings. Ling Xiao's strength was too terrifying. Ling Xiao's roar was earth-shattering. His fighting intent was extremely powerful and he used the first 6 moves of the 7 limits divine techniques one after another. For divine tribulation's sky-striking style, 5 elements sky sealing style, 6 paths of reincarnation style, 7 stars sky-shattering style, 8 desolation sky burning style, and 9 killing ultimate style. These 6 killer moves were all supreme killing techniques. They were extremely terrifying, and each of them represented a kind of extreme power. When facing Luo Feng's sovereign celestial body, Ling Xiao had killed him with the 9 kills to the end. Although Ling Xiao's cultivation base wasn't high enough to use the first 6 moves, with the help of the King Heaven Devourer Cauldron, he could still use them. As for the final move, the 10 Directions Annihilation style, it was a move that could devour all heavens and devour all. It was so terrifying that Ling Xiao didn't dare to use it lightly. With his current cultivation, if he were to forcefully execute this move, even if he didn't die, he would be heavily injured. In the Azura King world, the sky trembled and the earth rumbled. If the Azura Battle Tower wasn't a supreme treasure and its space hadn't been reinforced, it would have been destroyed by Ling Xiao's attack. But even so, after the 6 killer moves were executed, the 18 Azura Kings were all killed by Ling Xiao. Not a single one was left. From off in the distance, Li Jingming watched the battle in a daze for a long moment before spitting out those words. The disciples of the Azura sect who had come with Ling Xiao also saw the result of the battle. Although they knew Ling Xiao's battle prowess was terrifying, they were still shocked. Those were 18 Azura kings, not 18 pigs. And yet, Ling Xiao had killed them just like that. After the 18 Shura kings were killed by Ling Xiao, 18 streaks of black baleful chi flew across the sky and condensed on Ling Xiao's body. It was the purest form of slaughter energy, and represented the essence of slaughter. It was the essence of the Azura battle spirit, also known as Azura power. The stronger the Azura power, the greater the boost to battle prowess. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, then vanished from the Azura King realm and entered the 6th level, the Azura Sovereign World. The Azura Sovereign World was a desolate and dilapidated place. Barren mountains were everywhere, and the sky was dark. Baleful energy gathered, making it seem like a place left behind by an ancient war, sealed within the Azura Battle Tower. A mere half-supreme brat dares to come to the Azura Sovereign World. You've got guts. A cold voice resounded in the void, and a black light surged. Instantly, an Azura Sovereign appeared in front of Ling Xiao. Rumble. A powerful and terrifying aura spread out, and it was as if the entire space was trembling. It was an old man who was only 10 feet tall. He looked like a human, but his face was still ugly. His nostrils were pointed up, and his eyes were sunken, as if 2 balls of ghostly fire were dancing in them. He stared at Ling Xiao, and his terrifying aura pressed down on Ling Xiao, as if he wanted Ling Xiao to kneel down. You still have your spiritual consciousness. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. In his previous life, although he had some understanding of the Azura Battle Tower, he had never entered it. He didn't know that the Azura Sovereign in the 6th level still had his spiritual consciousness. Hee hee. Although I'm only a battle spirit now, who dares to erase my spiritual consciousness? Even the heavens can't do it. Even the heavens can't do it. Ha ha ha. The Azura sovereign suddenly laughed wildly, and his eyes were filled with a cold and bloodthirsty light. Ling Xiao was speechless. This Azura sovereign looked like he still had his spiritual consciousness, but when he spoke, it was as if he had lost his mind. What's your name? Why are you in the Azura battle tower? Ling Xiao glanced at him indifferently. The Azura battle tower was incomparably mysterious. It was said that it was left behind by the ancestors of the Azura sect. However, when he saw the battle spirits in the Azura battle tower, Ling Xiao suddenly felt that the Azura sect was related to the Azura clan. The Azura clan was rumored to be a powerful clan in ancient times. The men were ugly, and the women were beautiful, but they had the strongest fighting talent in the world. However, the Azura clan didn't exist in the War God continent. It was only a legend. Now that he had entered the Azura battle tower, Ling Xiao felt that there might be some secrets hidden in the Azura battle tower. What's my name? Yes, what's my name? No matter what my name is, my mission is to kill. You trespassed into the forbidden area, so I'll kill you. The Azura sovereign's eyes suddenly revealed a trace of doubt as he muttered to himself. Finally, his eyes flashed with killing intent, and he suddenly rushed towards Ling Xiao. Boom! The Azura sovereign struck out with his palm, and the sky shook. Endless black chi condensed, and finally turned into a huge palm print that slammed down towards Ling Xiao. The power of this palm was condensed to the extreme, and it carried an incomparably terrifying power of law. It was so exquisite that it seemed like it would smash Ling Xiao into pieces. The Great Azura Palm. Good. A sharp glint flashed across Ling Xiao's eyes. What the Venerable Azura used was the Great Shura Palm that Luo Feng used previously. However, in the hands of the Venerable Azura, there was a magical power that was more than a few times stronger than Luo Feng's. Boom! Chapter 725. Kacha. The void trembled. Ling Xiao's punch was incomparably powerful. It was the ultimate sublimation of the 6 paths of reincarnation, but when it landed on the Great Azura Palm, it was as if it landed on empty air. The black light that filled the sky was swept away. As the Great Shura Palm swept across the sky, the heavens and earth darkened. It was as if there were terrifying palm prints everywhere. Hundreds of palm prints struck towards Ling Xiao. Rumble. Ling Xiao was shocked. He threw out hundreds of punches to shatter the palm prints in the sky. However, Ling Xiao realized that the Shura Venerable had only thrown out a single palm. This palm was extremely mysterious. It merged with the void of the heavens and earth. It was everywhere. Ling Xiao had to expend a lot of energy to break it. Bang! The Shura Venerable flew across the sky. His palm print swept across the sky. The terrifying Shura force swept across the area like a raging sea. It formed a terrifying domain of ominous aura and suppressed Ling Xiao. Kill! Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. He could feel that the Shura Venerable was only at the first level of the Supreme Realm. However, his combat strength was much stronger than Luo Feng's sovereign celestial body. This wasn't determined by one's cultivation. It was determined by one's fighting instinct and control of the laws of the heavens and earth. Ling Xiao could faintly feel that the Shura Venerable's strength was far beyond the first level of the Supreme Realm. However, he could only display the strength of a first-level Supreme Realm expert because of the restrictions of the Shura Battle Tower. 7 stars sky-shattering style. Ling Xiao flew across the sky. His body was surrounded by a boundless divine light. 7 supreme stars flew out from his back and formed a huge starry fist print that enveloped the Shura Venerable. Ling Xiao could sense that the Shura Venerable had a strong fighting instinct. Therefore, he wanted to suppress his opponent with his strength and gradually control the rhythm of the battle. This battle was extremely difficult. Ling Xiao had executed the 4 elephants sky-striking style and the 9 killing ultimate style. However, he only managed to put the Shura Venerable at a slight disadvantage. Rumble. Ling Xiao's figure flashed across the sky and collided violently with the Shura Venerable. The heavens and earth were filled with blazing lightning and surging black divine light. It was extremely terrifying. The disciples of the Shura sect had also concealed their auras and came to the Shura sovereign world. They wanted to witness Ling Xiao's cultivation. In the end, Li Jingming wasn't in the mood for the trial and came along with the other disciples. The battle between Ling Xiao and Venerable Azura shocked them all. Venerable Azura, that was a true supreme combat strength. Although it was only a battle spirit condensed from the Azura battle tower, its might was unparalleled. Even Li Jingming didn't have the courage to challenge Venerable Azura. That is a genuine supreme being. I heard that this is a peerless powerhouse condensed from a supreme battle spirit from ancient times. How terrifying! Ling Xiao is even more abnormal. He can actually fight with such a Jizuan to such an extent. Could it be that he wants to put on a show where he slaughters a Jizuan? Very likely, ha ha ha. A heaven-defying peerless genius has finally appeared in our Azura sect. The eyes of many Shura sect disciples were filled with anticipation and fanaticism. The battle between Ling Xiao and Venerable Azura was not only shocking and terrifying, but it also benefited them greatly. After all, in the hands of Venerable Azura, the Shura sect's martial arts were displayed endlessly. It was incomparably exquisite. Just like the great Azura palm, a palm strike could shake the heavens and earth. The power of law condensed and could display the power of hundreds of palms. In the hands of Venerable Azura, the apocalyptic Azura saber was even more terrifying. Even though they were far away, everyone could feel the apocalyptic saber intent, as if it was going to destroy the world. Kill! Venerable Azura seemed to be excited. It had been a long time since he had fought to his heart's content. The Shura sect's peerless martial arts were transformed into something magical in his hands, erupting with incomparably terrifying power. Even if Ling Xiao had the 7 limits divine art of devouring heaven and destroying earth, this battle was still extremely difficult. This battle had nothing to do with cultivation, realm, combat strength, or martial arts. It was a battle of the most primitive battle consciousness and battle instinct. Ling Xiao suddenly realized that Venerable Azura's battle talent was too terrifying. It was even more terrifying than in his previous life. Who was this person? Why would his battle spirit appear in the Azura battle tower after his death? Kid, you are indeed very strong. Ha ha ha. This battle is delightful. If you can withstand my next attack, it will be your win. Venerable Azura seemed to be a little deranged. He was incomparably excited. Sometimes he was talking nonsense, but other times he was like a normal person. He stared at Ling Xiao, who was opposite him, with incomparable sharpness in his eyes. His body exuded an incomparably terrifying battle intent. Boom! He moved instantly. A black divine light rose behind him, instantly turning into a black and gloomy saber light above the 9 heavens. The void began to tremble violently. A terrifying aura that seemed to be able to annihilate the heavens and earth spread out. The black saber light cut across the sky and slashed toward Ling Xiao. The speed of the saber seemed very slow, but in the blink of an eye, it was above Ling Xiao's head. Moreover, it gave people the feeling that it was unavoidable. Annihilation to destruction / Someone exclaimed. This was one of the supreme killing techniques recorded in the Azura Supreme Sutra. It was said that when cultivated to the extreme, it could annihilate the heavens and earth, destroy all things, and slay gods and demons. Now that it was being used by Venerable Azura, it was as if they were really witnessing that scene. The black saber light made Ling Xiao feel a sense of fatal danger. Ancestral Dragon Secret Skill, True Phoenix Secret Skill, Fuse. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with sharpness. He shouted in his heart. Suddenly, 2 incomparably terrifying auras erupted from his body at the same time. Rumble. The heavens and earth trembled. The dragon's roar shook the heavens and the phoenix's cry reverberated. Behind Ling Xiao, a golden dragon and a five-colored phoenix shrouded in flames seemed to slowly fuse into one, erupting with a force that shook the heavens and earth. Boom! The force swept across the heavens and earth. It was as if the entire Azura tribulation had turned into a blazing ocean. Everyone seemed to have gone blind. Their eyes were filled with a vast expanse of white, and they couldn't see anything clearly. This was the power of the fusion of the secret skills. It caused the heavens and earth to tremble, and the gods to tremble. It was as if the sun, moon, and stars were about to fall from the 9 heavens. This is Auspicious Dragon and Phoenix. Ha ha ha. Auspicious Dragon and Phoenix, Azura returns to his hometown. I've been waiting for this for so long. I've finally waited for it. Venerable Azura's eyes flashed with incomparable brilliance. Suddenly, he laughed wildly. Before this power, not only was the black saber ray unable to withstand it, but even exalted Azura was instantly melted like snow. Boom! Chapter 726. When the Shura sect's disciples opened their eyes again, their eyes were filled with shock. The nirvana slash to the end was broken by Ling Xiao. Moreover, the powerful battle spirit was also killed by Ling Xiao. Although they knew that Ling Xiao's combat strength was terrifying, they were still shocked when they saw it with their own eyes. Dragon and Phoenix bring prosperity, Shura returns to home. What does that mean? Ling Xiao was shocked. He never thought that the Azura Venerable would be able to see through the fusion of the ancestral dragon's secret skill and the true phoenix secret skill. Furthermore, the Azura Venerable had said such strange words. It seems that there are many secrets hidden in the Shura Battle Tower. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Without greeting the Shura sect's disciples, he turned into a ray of light and entered the 7th floor of the Shura Battle Tower. Shura Divine World. According to legend, the Shura Battle Tower was the most mysterious and powerful world. The Shura Divine World was a desolate world. In the history of the Shura sect, no one except the Shura sect's ancestor could defeat the battle spirit of the Shura Divine World. Therefore, the battle spirit of the Shura Divine World was also known as the Shura God. It was invincible, powerful, and unparalleled. Even 10,000 years ago, the most talented Shura Venerable in the history of the Shura sect had not been able to reach the 7th floor. Ling Xiao went to the Shura Divine World. Let's go and see. The Shura sect's disciples came back to their senses and wanted to enter the Shura Divine World. Boom! Suddenly, the Shura Divine World emitted a strong repelling force. The light was dazzling and covered the entire Shura Divine World. No one could enter the Shura Divine World. Oh no, why can't we enter the Shura Divine World? Someone's face changed and his eyes were filled with shock. However, what happened next shocked them even more. The Shura Battle Tower shone brightly and an ancient, mysterious, and vast aura burst out. At this moment, everyone was repelled from the Shura Battle Tower. The Shura Battle Tower was surrounded by a black Shura force. No one could enter the Shura Battle Tower anymore. What's wrong with the Shura Battle Tower? Why can't we go in? Quickly report this to the sect leader. Ling Xiao defeated that sovereign from the Shura sovereign world, and then this happened. Could it be that this has something to do with Ling Xiao? Many disciples were bewildered, and their eyes were filled with shock. Since the founding of the Azura sect, the Azura Battle Tower had been the supreme treasure of the Azura sect. Such a situation had never occurred before. Even Li Jingming was deeply worried. He quickly flew towards the Azura Palace, wanting to inform the Shuren king about what had happened here. He faintly guessed that perhaps this matter really had something to do with Ling Xiao, but he did not dare to be sure. In the end, he still needed the Xiu human monarch to make the decision. In the Azura Divine World. This was a desolate world. It looked like a real world. In the distance, mountain ranges rose and fell continuously. Ancient trees towered into the sky. It was full of vitality. When Ling Xiao arrived, he saw black light surging in front of him, and an old figure appeared in front of him. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He didn't expect it to be Venerable Azura. However, although the Venerable Azura before him looked very old and withered, there was a domineering aura around him that seemed to be able to dominate the world. His eyes were bright and sharp, deep and full of vicissitudes. It was as if he had seen the birth and death of an endless world. "Who are you?" Ling Xiao asked calmly. He faintly felt that the Venerable Azura in front of him had a terrifying aura. It was even stronger than a titled sovereign. It was similar to the nine-tailed celestial fox and the monster saint. Could it be that this was a true godly realm expert? Thinking of this, Ling Xiao's heart trembled. The Venerable Azura looked at Ling Xiao indifferently. There was a hint of emotion in his eyes as he said, "After 1,000,000 years, you've finally come. You know me?" Ling Xiao frowned. "No, I don't." The Venerable Azura said indifferently. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he said, "Dragon and Phoenix are auspicious." What does Azura return to home mean? Since the Venerable Azura in front of him didn't know him, that was probably the only explanation. It's the literal meaning. As long as the dragon and phoenix are auspicious, the Azura clan can truly return to their homeland. Venerable Shura said with a sigh. The Azura clan? Who are you? What's your relationship with the Azura clan? Ling Xiao asked the same question again. At the same time, his heart trembled. Why would the Azura clan be able to return to their homeland when the dragon and phoenix are auspicious? I'm Night Rain, the last clan leader of the Azura clan. The Venerable Azura said slowly. There was a hint of sadness in his eyes. The last clan leader of the Azura clan? What does that mean? Ling Xiao frowned slightly. In other words, I'm the last clan leader of the Azura clan. After I die, the Azura clan will be completely extinct. Night Rain stood in front of Ling Xiao and said slowly. Although he was just a battle spirit, Ling Xiao could see the despair, anger, and sadness in his eyes. Little friend, do you want to hear the story of the Azura clan? Night Rain sighed and said slowly. All right. Ling Xiao nodded. He had many doubts in his heart. The Azura clan originally lived in the Azura Great World. We walked from the Desolation era to the Great World. Finally, under the leadership of our ancestors, we battled the heavens, the earth, and thousands of living beings. We battled time and the heavens and finally became the overlords and rulers of the Azura Great World. Night Rain said slowly. There was a hint of nostalgia in his eyes. The Azura clan doesn't respect the heavens or the earth. We only respect our parents and ancestor god Azura. We lived in the Azura Great World for countless years. Martial arts flourished there and thousands of living beings were united. Although the Azura clan loved to fight, we didn't restrict the development of thousands of living beings. This made the Azura Great World one of the strongest worlds in the universe. Martial arts flourished to the extreme. However, the good times didn't last long. 1,000,000 years ago, the extraterrestrial demons invaded and swept across the universe. My war god world was also dragged into the flames of war. Countless living beings died. Thousands of living beings cried in grief. Countless martial arts experts advanced dauntlessly, but they all died in the hands of the extraterrestrial demons. The entire Azura Great World was almost wiped out. I brought the remaining members of the Azura clan through the endless void and came to the war god world. We joined the Scarlet Dragon War God and participated in that earth-shattering battle. Chapter 727. It could be seen that although Night Rain was just a battle spirit, her memory was very clear and her words were very organized. The truth of 1,000,000 years ago unfolded bit by bit in front of Ling Xiao. Were there invasions of the extraterritorial demons in all the worlds? Ling Xiao's eyes trembled, and many doubts in his heart began to be solved. He originally thought that the so-called invasion of the extraterritorial demons was the invasion of the war god Great World by powerhouses from other worlds, but now it seemed that this was not the case. If there were invasions of the extraterritorial demons in all the worlds, then where did the extraterritorial demons come from? How could their strength be so terrifying? Ling Xiao was now certain that the Scarlet Dragon War God and his 4 great generals, Monster Sage, Buddha Lord, Moon Mother, and Spirit Sage, were all god-level powerhouses. Otherwise, they would not be able to resist the extraterritorial demons. And now it seemed that the patriarchs of the Nine-Tailed Fox clan, the Shura clan, and even Panga Chu, who Ling Xiao had met in the Reincarnation Sea, were very likely god-level powerhouses. The Great Calamity a million years ago was far more terrifying than Ling Xiao had imagined. Night Rain continued. Before the Great Calamity a million years ago, martial arts in all the worlds flourished to the extreme. Countless powerhouses from each world ascended to the God world and obtained eternal life. But in the Great Calamity a million years ago, countless creatures died, and all the worlds fell into darkness. My Shura clan's powerhouses died one by one in front of me, but I was powerless. Who could understand that kind of despair and pain? In the end, I also followed in their footsteps and died at the hands of a heavenly demon god. My mortal body was torn apart, not even my bones remained, and my primordial spirit was extinguished. All that was left behind was a battle spirit mark in the Azura War Tower. Before dying, the high priest of the Shura clan burned his life to deduce fate. He saw the end of the river of fate, and also saw the hope of my Shura clan. He left behind these words, "Dragon and Phoenix bring prosperity, Shura return to home." But today, I've finally been waiting for you. The last martial skill you used was exactly the same as what the high priest saw. Thus, my battle spirit has survived for a million years, all for the sake of waiting for you. Waiting for you to bring the bones of my Azura clan back to Azura Great World. Night Rain looked at Ling Xiao, her eyes full of sadness. Dragon and Phoenix, Azura returning home. The high priest of the Azura clan is truly a genius, to be able to see the fate of millions of years ago. Ling Xiao sighed softly. His gaze landed on Yi Yu as he said slowly, "The Azura clan has extremely strong combat talent. They sacrificed themselves for the Great Calamity 10,000 years ago and their entire clan was annihilated. It is truly pitiful and respectable. If you need it, after I become a supreme being, I will definitely cross the void and return to the Azura Great World with the remains of the Azura clan." Ling Xiao's eyes were also filled with admiration. The Azura clan had been completely annihilated. From this, one could see how tragic that calamity was. Even Ling Xiao's heart was filled with respect. Therefore, Ling Xiao was more than willing to bring the corpses of the Shura clan members back to their homeland. However, Ling Xiao also had some doubts. The high priest of the Shura race had seen the river of fate and waited for Ling Xiao a million years later. Was it really as simple as just sending Ling Xiao back to the Shura race? Ling Xiao suddenly thought of something and hurriedly asked, "Senior, how do we determine the members of the Azura clan? Are there really no members of the Azura clan left in this world? What about the Azura sect?" Night Rain slowly said, "A million years ago, before I died, I gave the ultimate treasure of the Shura clan, the Shura Battle Tower, to a human powerhouse. I also passed on the martial arts of the Shura clan to him, and he created the Shura sect. Although the Azura clan has been annihilated, the martial arts of the Azura clan should be passed down. However, although humans can cultivate the martial arts of the Azura clan, there are many skills that can only be understood by those with the bloodline of the Azura clan. Therefore, the martial arts of the Azura sect are not complete. This is also one of my obsessions. In this world, there are no more members of the Azura clan. Because a million years ago, they all died. The Azura clan was born in the darkness and died in the darkness. Only those with the pure bloodline of darkness can be considered members of the Azura clan. As for the many geniuses of the Azura sect, they are only pure humans. Perhaps they were influenced by the martial arts of the Azura clan, but they are not true members of the Azura clan. Bloodline of darkness? Ling Xiao's body shook. He looked at Yi Yu with a faint smile. Clan leader Yi, perhaps there are still members of the Azura clan alive in this world. What? Yi Yu's eyes shook as he suddenly looked at Ling Xiao. A terrifying aura came from his body that seemed to cause the entire space to tremble. Because I've seen someone with the bloodline of darkness. Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. Where is it? Yi Yu's breathing quickened, and her eyes were filled with excitement. What a coincidence, it's with me. Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. He was naturally talking about the siblings Yi Feng and Yi Meng. After the holy ground ended, the siblings had been in the heavenly god's stone. They used the steps outside the divine king palace to cultivate and sharpen their cultivation. Ling Xiao had even given the heavenly book of darkness to the siblings, treating them as Yi Qianjue's descendants and carefully raising them. Through his conversation with Yi Yu, Ling Xiao could tell that what Yi Yu said was true. Moreover, Yi Yu was only a battle spirit. His true primordial spirit had dissipated long ago. There was no meaning in lying to Ling Xiao. Therefore, Ling Xiao decided to tell him about Yi Feng and Yi Meng. Wang! With a flash of light, Yi Feng and Yi Meng came out of the heavenly god's stone. Saint, where is this? Yi Feng and Yi Meng looked around, then glanced at Yi Yu curiously and asked. After seeing Yi Feng and Yi Meng, he felt a familiar bloodline aura. It was the bloodline of darkness without a doubt. Yi Yu instantly became excited. The heavens didn't destroy my Azura clan, the heavens didn't destroy my Azura clan. Ha ha ha. I understand, I finally understand. So the dragon and phoenix are auspicious, the Azura clan has returned to their homeland. It means that my Azura clan still has true bloodline descendants in this world. Yi Yu began to shout excitedly. Her eyes were filled with excitement, and her eyes had even turned red. After 1,000,000 years of waiting, he thought that the Azura clan had truly perished. However, Ling Xiao brought him hope today. He told him that the Azura clan still had descendants in this world. After such a long period of despair, this glimmer of hope made Yi Yu so excited that he was about to go crazy. He was certain that Yi Feng and Yi Meng were members of the Azura clan. Yi Feng and Yi Meng also looked at Yi Yu curiously. Their bloodline of darkness had completely awakened and their senses were very sharp. They could feel an aura from Yi Yu that made them feel a sense of attachment and intimacy. Chapter 728. 10,000 years ago, Yi Qianjue also had the dark bloodline and was one of Ling Xiao's 7 direct disciples. But even Ling Xiao didn't know the origin of the dark bloodline. Who would have thought that the dark bloodline was the descendant of the Azura clan? Yi Feng and Yi Meng were probably the only ones with the dark bloodline left in the entire war god continent. The human race is indeed a race blessed by the heavens and earth. The born Tao body can contain everything. I didn't think that even the bloodline of the Azura clan would be passed down. But to truly become a member of the Azura clan, awakening the dark bloodline isn't enough. There is still the final step, which is to worship the Azura ancestor god. Yi Yu looked at Yi Feng and Yi Meng as if he was looking at 2 treasures. His eyes were filled with excitement. Ling Xiao had already told the 2 siblings about the Azura clan. Their eyes widened and their faces were filled with disbelief. They didn't think that the dark bloodline would have such a great origin. Coming from the distant Azura great world and fighting against the calamity of 1,000,000 years ago, all of this sounded so unbelievable. Wang! Yi Yu waved his hand and an ancient and mysterious door appeared in front of everyone. Follow me. Little friend Ling Xiao, come with us. Yi Yu said slowly as she took the lead and stepped into the ancient door. Ling Xiao, Yi Feng, and Yi Meng also followed in. Rumble. This was a black space, filled with a dark aura. It emitted a mysterious Azura power, boundless and ancient. But Ling Xiao could see that there were countless corpses in this black space. There were at least 10,000 of them. Every single corpse exuded an extremely terrifying aura, and they were in an extremely miserable state. Some of them had a hole pierced between their eyebrows, some were severed at the waist, some only had their heads left, and some still had their eyes open, dying with everlasting regret. Ling Xiao felt the dense Azura aura and instantly understood that these should be members of the Azura clan. They died just like that in this mysterious space. There was a solemn and dignified aura that filled the air. Ling Xiao could feel that the weakest of these 10,000 Azura corpses were emperors. There were even many powerful supremes. All of them had died here without a sound. This is the 8th floor of the Azura Battle Tower. It is also the forbidden land of my Azura clan. In the Great Calamity a million years ago, almost all of the Azura clansmen who died in battle are here. Yi Yu said slowly, his eyes filled with desolation. He was like a gravekeeper who was familiar with every single corpse here. He had guarded them for a million years, but he still couldn't bring them back to their hometowns. Senior Yi, why don't you look for the Shura clan's patriarchs and ask them to send the Shura clan's martyrs back to the Shura Great World? As long as you become a supreme, you should be able to travel through the void and travel to other worlds, right? Ling Xiao sighed softly and asked slowly. Impossible. Night Rain shook her head and said slowly, when we left the Shura world, it was almost broken. Without the coordinates, even the gods would not be able to find the location of the Shura world, let alone the sovereigns. Moreover, I believe in the High Priest. He is the wisest person in the Azura clan. He can see through fate, so I have waited here for a million years. A great world has collapsed. Ling Xiao was shocked. The catastrophe a million years ago was indeed terrifying, but the power to collapse a world, such as the war god Great World, was not something that even the real gods could do. It was obvious that the Shura world had gone through a terrible war. Ling Xiao, you were able to send Yi Feng and Yi Meng to my side and let me see the hope of the Shura clan. You are the benefactor of the Shura clan. I would like to invite you to become the High Priest of the Shura clan. Please don't refuse. Night Rain's eyes showed a trace of sincerity as she spoke slowly. The High Priest of the Shura clan. I am not a member of the Shura clan, and I don't have the power of fate like the High Priest. Ling Xiao was stunned for a moment, then smiled bitterly. The High Priest of the Shura clan had burned his life force to see the river of fate a million years later. He had also left behind the 8 words, Dragon and Phoenix bring prosperity, Shura return to home. This kind of power that could see through fate and time shocked Ling Xiao. Perhaps even the gods did not have such power. Perhaps the gods could touch the power of time, but the power of fate was a taboo for the gods. Night Rain smiled and pointed into the distance, saying, that is what the High Priest left behind after he died. The High Priest saw in the long river of fate that the person with the dragon and phoenix was the one who inherited his legacy. Go and give it a try. If you succeed, you will be the High Priest of the Shura clan. If you fail, it is okay. Night Rain pointed at a mysterious altar in the middle of all the Shura clan corpses. It looked very mysterious, and there were a few things on top of the altar. Ling Xiao only glanced at it, but his heart trembled, as if his primordial spirit was about to shatter. Ling Xiao was about to say something when the wordless heavenly book in his mind trembled slightly. It emitted an extremely bright light, and with some kind of wave of desire, it led Ling Xiao to it. Ling Xiao could not help but feel moved. He nodded and said, all right, since Senior Night Rain is so fond of me, I will give it a try. Thank you. Next, I will complete the final ceremony for Yi Feng and Yi Meng and pass on the Shura clan's legacy to them. Night Rain smiled and said, Senior, please do as you wish. Ling Xiao nodded and said, Buzz. Night Rain looked at Ling Xiao and waved his sleeve. Suddenly, a black light surged and enveloped him, Yi Feng, and Yi Meng. In an instant, they disappeared into the void. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and he slowly walked toward the altar in the distance. This space exuded a rich Shura power, and it had an extremely mysterious concept. It was a sacred place to comprehend martial arts and laws. However, Ling Xiao did not cultivate. Instead, His gaze fell on the altar. He was curious as to why the item left behind by the high priest of the Shura clan would cause the wordless heavenly book to tremble. The altar did not look big. It was 90 feet tall and was made of some kind of black stone. It looked as if it was going to swallow all light. There were 2 items on the altar. One was a black animal skin scroll, and the other was a bracelet made of black bones. The animal skin scroll was made of some powerful beast's skin, but it had an extremely mysterious wave that caused the wordless heavenly book to tremble violently. Chapter 729. Weng. A faint black light spread out, and dozens of ancient runes appeared on the scroll. They looked very mysterious, and Ling Xiao did not recognize any of them. These dozens of ancient runes intertwined with each other, as if they contained a mysterious power of destiny. It made people feel like they were immersed in it. This is... Ling Xiao's body shook, and his sea of consciousness shone brightly. In his golden primordial spirit, 97 ancient runes slowly appeared. Of these 97 ancient runes, 81 were found in the black coffin on the underworld ship, and 16 were found in the celestial stone, on the stone tablet in front of the deity king's palace. Ling Xiao did not expect that the scroll left behind by the Azura tribe's high priest would also have these ancient runes. A total of 63 ancient runes rushed out of the scroll, turning into a dazzling stream of light, and merged into Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness, becoming one with the 97 ancient runes. Rumble. It was as if a dazzling divine light was lingering. The 160 ancient runes looked mysterious, as if they had turned into a mysterious robe, draping over Ling Xiao's primordial spirit. Ling Xiao still did not recognize any of the 160 ancient runes, but they intertwined with each other, forming a mysterious river that contained the power of destiny. Could it be? Could it be that the Azura tribe's high priest calculated the river of destiny from these ancient runes? Ling Xiao's eyes trembled, and he felt more and more that these ancient runes were mysterious. The wordless heavenly book in Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness trembled slightly, as if it longed for the 160 ancient runes, but it also had a feeling of fear and resistance. In the end, it trembled and reluctantly withdrew its light. These 160 ancient runes were the second thing that Ling Xiao saw that the wordless heavenly book was afraid of. The first was the Black Bone Man. But other than that, it was not even afraid of the wordless heavenly book. What are these ancient runes? Ling Xiao's interest was piqued, and he began to carefully study the mysteries of these ancient runes. But no matter how much he studied, he had no clue at all. These ancient runes looked very mysterious, as if they contained the power of some law, but he seemed to be blocked outside, unable to enter. Could it be related to this bracelet? Ling Xiao picked up the bracelet on the altar. There were a total of 49 black bones on the bracelet. They felt as smooth as jade to the touch. It was unknown what kind of demonic beast's bones were used to make this bracelet. Ling Xiao thought for a moment and put the bracelet on his wrist. Boom! The bracelet instantly emitted a bright light, and a mysterious and ancient aura spread out. The bracelet instantly fused into Ling Xiao's body, and the 49 bones simultaneously turned into a stretch of resplendent runes and majestic information flow, manifesting in Ling Xiao's consciousness. Observing the Tao of the heavens, carrying out the heavens, all living beings in the heavens, the gods of fate, a mysterious scripture began to appear in Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness. Rumble. Boundless primal chaos chi permeated the air. Ling Xiao felt as though he had arrived at the beginning of the immemorial era. He saw an ancient and mysterious old man sitting cross-legged amidst the endless stars, looking at a world that was born from the darkness. He is the high priest of the Azura race. Ling Xiao's body trembled. Although he didn't know why, he believed that the old man was the high priest of the Azura race. The world that was born from the darkness was also extremely mysterious. It was completely different from the war god continent. It was as though the darkness was an eternal source of energy. Countless living beings were born, and they multiplied. Finally, they participated in the heavens and earth, propagating the martial Tao and conquering the heavens and earth. They all wanted to become the rulers of the world. Ling Xiao saw that there seemed to be a line above the head of every living being. It gathered together like a long river, slowly appearing in front of the old man. The old man was like an unchanging mountain rock, ancient and mysterious. He stared indifferently at the long river in front of him, not saying a word. Ling Xiao even saw the experts of the Azura race being born from the darkness source. They fought against the heavens and earth, fighting against all living beings. In the end, they fought against the heavens and earth, becoming the pig trotters of that world for eternity. The old man sighed and turned into a stream of light, merging into the world of the Azura race, becoming the high priest of the Azura race. Those mysterious lines grew more and more, and the long river spread out. It came from the darkness, went into the light, and finally gathered in an incomparably vast and majestic river. That river was mysterious, ancient, vast, and majestic. No one could describe its greatness. It was as if even God realm experts were just a drop in the ocean in front of that river. Is that the river of fate? Ling Xiao's body trembled, his eyes filled with disbelief. Those lines were like the fate of every living being. They were like marionettes, being manipulated without them knowing. On a certain day, a black fist fell from the 9 heavens, slamming into that vast river. Instantly, the heavens and earth trembled, and the boundless great world collapsed. The river stirred up huge waves, and countless law lines collapsed. Ling Xiao saw that the extraterrestrial demons had invaded. Countless living beings died in battle. Every time a living being died in battle, a line would collapse, and the heavens and earth would begin to wither. Who is it that dares to punch the river of fate? Could it be that this is the truth behind the invasion of the extraterrestrial demons? Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with shock, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Those lines of fate could be touched, and at the same time, Ling Xiao thought of many things. Who was controlling fate? Who was controlling life and death? This could be said to be an eternal question. Every cultivator studied the heavens and earth and went against the heavens, but in the end, they all wanted to solve this question. Ling Xiao faintly felt that perhaps he had seen some incredible secret. Rumble. As if someone had noticed Ling Xiao's spying, a cold snort sounded. The heavens trembled, and countless great worlds collapsed. The scene in front of Ling Xiao also shattered. Buzz! The 49 black bones emitted a resplendent light, instantly protecting Ling Xiao. He turned into a stream of light and disappeared from that world. And in Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness, a mysterious scripture appeared. Heaven's birth technique. This should be the true cultivation technique left behind by the high priest. Ling Xiao guessed that the scenes he had just seen might have been imprinted on the bracelet, and they might have been from billions of years ago. However, just a cold snort was enough to shatter the myriad worlds. Ling Xiao also believed that if it weren't for the bracelet, his primordial spirit would have been annihilated by that cold snort. This high priest is too mysterious. I want to see what this heaven's birth technique is. It actually dares to call itself destiny. Chapter 730. Observing the Tao of the heavens, controlling the heavens, all living beings in the heavens, God of destiny, the beginning of the great fate divination technique began with these words. It carried an ethereal and mysterious aura. Buzz! Ling Xiao's body emitted a bright light. His primordial spirit was dazzling and there were strands of mysterious laws surging. When Ling Xiao was cultivating the great fate divination technique, the 160 ancient runes all floated up and revolved around Ling Xiao's body. They were like 160 small worlds that intertwined with each other. In his sea of consciousness, Ling Xiao's primordial spirit seemed to have pierced through a layer of void barrier and arrived at the beginning of the heavens and earth. He saw that above his head, there was a mysterious line that extended into the sky. He didn't know where it led to. Is this my destiny? Ling Xiao's eyes flickered and he was completely immersed in a godly state of cultivation. As Ling Xiao was cultivating the great fate divination technique in the Shura battle tower, the Shura sect was completely shaken. The Shura sect's sect master, Shuren Wang, and the two supreme elders had all arrived at the Shura battle tower. Sect master, why did the Shura battle tower seal itself for no reason? Could it be that Ling Xiao did something? One of the supreme elders had a trace of suspicion in his eyes. All the disciples of the Shura sect had come out except for Ling Xiao, who was still in the Shura battle tower. He couldn't help but suspect. Shuren Wang had tried before, but even he couldn't activate the Shura battle tower. It was as if the series of methods he had left behind had all failed. It shouldn't be. I suspect that it's the battle spirit in the Shura battle tower that's playing tricks. Shuren Wang's eyes were solemn as he spoke slowly. That battle spirit? Could it be that crazy old man who claimed to be the last patriarch of the Shura clan? The supreme elder's body trembled as if he had thought of something and quickly spoke. That's right. You should know that it was because my Azura sect obtained the inheritance of the Azura clan that we were able to establish the Azura sect. As for the Azura battle tower, it is said that it is the most precious treasure of the Azura clan. The previous sect masters were unable to completely control it, so I suspect that the battle spirit did something. Shuren Wang said slowly. Ling Xiao won't be in danger, right? I heard that he's Long Lai's nephew. Long Lai's title has already spread throughout the continent. If anything happens to him, I'm sure a sect won't be able to explain it. The other supreme elder said. Both of them were the Shuren king's trusted aides, and they both stood on the Shilua sect's side. Don't worry, he will definitely. I believe that he will definitely come out. Send a few disciples to guard the Azura battle tower. Don't worry. Shuren Wang, Wang said. Shura World Ling Tower. 10,000 years ago, the strongest person under the heavens, in a mere Azura battle tower, it was impossible for anything to happen to him. Finally, under the orders of the Shuren king, several Shura sect disciples stood guard outside the Shura battle tower. Shura sect. Shura sect. Shura sect of Shura of the Shura of Shura sect. Shura was something. While Ling Xiao was in seclusion, the entire continent of war was in an uproar. First, there was Long Lai's Dao title. Then, there was the Sky Demon Palace besieging the Mountain of Flames. Four peerless experts were unable to do anything to Long Lai. Then, there was the Fire Phoenix Sovereign's Dao title. Suddenly, the Crystal Palace and the Mountain of Flames became famous, causing a stir in the entire Mountain of Flames. The news of Ling Xiao killing Leopard Demon Venerable spread throughout the continent of war, causing an uproar among countless geniuses. After slaughtering an Exalt, Ling Xiao's current combat strength was probably at the top of the entire Ascension rankings. Ling Xiao's identity was also uncovered. He was Long Lai's nephew, a member of the Dragon Clan. Originally, Ling Xiao had killed countless genius experts in the Holy Ground, such as the second Holy Son of the Emperor Tomb Mountain, Yama of the Underworld Pavilion, and others. Originally, these martial arts Holy Lands wanted to find trouble with Ling Xiao, but when they heard that the person behind Ling Xiao was Long Lai, they suddenly lost their voices. The Holy Lands of War God Continent all had sovereigns, but that didn't mean they all had titled sovereigns. Titled sovereigns represented the pinnacle of humanity. There were less than 10 titled sovereigns in the entire War God Continent. Of course, there were some hidden sovereigns. With Long Lai backing him, ordinary Holy Lands would have to think twice if they wanted to deal with Ling Xiao. However, this news wasn't as explosive as the news of the Heaven's Choice Convention. The Heaven's Choice Convention was about to begin. The entire War God Continent was in an uproar. The Heaven's Choice Convention was a grand event for all the geniuses and youths of the War God Continent. It was held once every 1,000 years. Every time, peerless geniuses would appear and become sovereigns, becoming the focus of the entire War God Continent. This time, the Heaven's Choice Convention was still held in the Time Cave. Although there were still a few months, countless geniuses were already rubbing their fists and preparing to head to the Time Cave. Countless geniuses would compete in the Heaven's Choice Convention. Countless treasures, mystic realms, divine abilities, and inheritances would appear in the time cave. Countless people were rubbing their fists and preparing to test their swords in the Heaven's Choice Convention. Azura Sect. Half a year had passed, but Ling Xiao still hadn't come out of the Azura Battle Tower. However, Grand Elder Luo Feng had returned from the Outer Realm. When he learned that Ling Xiao had been promoted to Grand Elder of the Azura Sect by the Xiuren King, Luo Feng sneered. It seems that the sect master has become muddle-headed. A mere half-step sovereign ant is worthy of being my Azura Sect's Grand Elder? When he comes out of the Azura Battle Tower, I'll be the first to kill him. Following Luo Feng were two other Grand Elders. They belonged to the same faction as Luo Feng. Each of them was brimming with killing intent and were filled with hostility towards Ling Xiao. Especially Luo Feng. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the 9th level of the sovereign realm. He was only a step away from becoming a titled sovereign. He wasn't any weaker than the Xiuren King. Therefore, he didn't put the Xiuren King in his eyes. In addition, Ling Xiao had previously destroyed one of his sovereign celestial bodies, which was a great humiliation to him. Li Jingming, Qing Jie, and the others were secretly worried for Ling Xiao. Grand Elder Luo Feng had returned. If he went crazy, even the Xiuren King wouldn't be able to stop him. Inform the East Ocean Crystal Palace about this. I hope the Dragon King can make a trip here. Otherwise, Ling Xiao will be in danger. Li Jingming secretly instructed Qing Jie Dao. His eyes were filled with worry. Okay, I'll go now. Chapter 731. Undercurrents were surging within the Azura sect. Although many were worried for Ling Xiao, there were also those who rejoiced in his misfortune and wanted to see him make a fool of himself. So what if he was a peerless genius? Only death awaited those who dared to offend Grand Elder Luo Feng. Geniuses who hadn't matured were nothing. Within the Azura Battle Tower, Ling Xiao had been sitting cross-legged on the altar for more than half a year. His body was enveloped in a mysterious aura of destiny, as if he would break through the void and leave this world at any moment. The line above his head also seemed to grow fainter. The 160 ancient runes grew increasingly mysterious, faintly showing signs of fusing into Ling Xiao's body. On this day, Ling Xiao opened his eyes. Buzz! Two divine lights, one black and one white, pierced through the void, causing the dark space to tremble, exuding a dignified and mysterious aura. So this is the great fate divination art. Ling Xiao sighed, his eyes calm and indifferent, with a hint of joy. His cultivation hadn't increased, remaining at half-step supremacy. He hadn't even passed the Great Earth Tribulation. In the past half a year, Ling Xiao had only comprehended the surface of the Great Fate divination art. He was certain that the High Priest of the Azura clan was a godly realm master, and he was definitely not an ordinary godly realm master. The Great Fate divination art borrowed the power of the ancient runes to comprehend the power of destiny, divining the fate of oneself and others. Martial artists went against the heavens, and destiny was extremely illusory and difficult to grasp. However, the Great Fate divination art could directly communicate with the river of destiny, allowing one to see the trajectory of destiny shrouded in layers of fog. The Great Fate divination art could also be used as an attack, directly attacking the origin of destiny, which was the thread of destiny Ling Xiao saw. If the thread of destiny was broken, it meant that one would be completely obliterated. Their body, mind, and brand would all cease to exist, as if they were completely erased from this world. But now, Ling Xiao could only use the thread of destiny to obliterate those weaker than him, so it wasn't very useful. In the past half a year, Ling Xiao had used the Great Fate divination art to deduce his fate. What Ling Xiao saw was a thick expanse of blood. This time's heavenly chosen convention was a great omen. It could be said that there was no chance of survival. But at the same time, Ling Xiao also saw that this Heaven's Choice Convention was a place for him to soar. He would obtain supreme fortunes and even catch a glimmer of hope. And the chance of survival was these 160 ancient rune characters. What are these ancient runes? Ling Zhao's eyes were filled with doubt. Even though he had cultivated the great fate divination technique, he still did not recognize the ancient characters. Ling Zhao could only vaguely sense that these ancient runes might be related to the River of Destiny that he had seen, but there were also some differences. Is the Heavenly Choice Convention a death sentence? Who is it that wants to deal with me? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He had many enemies on the War God continent. Star Palace, Nantian Family, Emperor Tomb Mountain, Underworld Pavilion, Precious Treasure Pavilion, and even Sky Demon Palace and War God Temple. But Ling Zhao's current battle strength was extremely strong and he had many treasures. He was confident that as long as it was not a titled sovereign, even if he could not win, he could escape. There were very few titled sovereigns in these martial Dao Holy Lands. It was unlikely that they would send a titled sovereign to deal with him. Ling Zhao now had two biggest suspicions. The first was the War God Temple. The War God Temple was too mysterious. Previously, the Impermanence General wanted to capture Luo but was killed by the Time General in the end. The War God Temple was so mysterious that Ling Zhao did not know much about them, whether in his previous life or this life. He could not help but feel apprehensive. The second was the Time Cave. Since the Heavenly Choice Convention was held in the Time Cave, and the Time Cave was one of the 8 great forbidden lands, it contained an incomparably mysterious power of time. Perhaps there were fatal dangers in the Time Cave. A situation where there was no chance of survival was a sign of great misfortune. But Ling Zhao saw a glimmer of hope. Although it was very weak, it did exist. To go or not to go? So what if it's a death sentence? This year's Heaven's Choice Convention is too important to me. I must become a sovereign, break through the land of origin, and find the Jin Se. Ling Zhao's eyes revealed a trace of determination as he spoke slowly. Young friend Ling, you're awake. Congratulations on becoming the High Priest of the Azura clan. Yi Yu appeared in front of Ling Zhao, his eyes filled with surprise. However, he looked older and the light around him had become extremely dim, like a candle flame in the wind that could be extinguished at any time. Senior Yi, what exactly is the Great Fate Divination Technique? Ling Zhao looked at Yi Yu and asked. I don't know either. Yi Yu laughed bitterly. Although I'm the clan leader of the Azura clan, I have no way to cultivate the Great Fate Divination Technique. Perhaps only the dead High Priest can answer this question. You've obtained the Great Fate Divination Technique and the Great Fate Divination Black Bone Bracelet. In the future, you'll be the High Priest of the Azura clan. The Azura clan, Yi Feng, and Yi Meng will be in your hands. Although Yi Yu's appearance was very ugly, his gaze was very gentle, and his face was filled with a relieved smile. Senior, are you going to leave? Ling Zhao sighed softly. Towards this clan leader who had guarded the bones of the Azura clan for 1,000,000 years, he still had a lot of respect in his heart. It's only an obsession. It's time to return to the embrace of the Azura ancestor god. Yi Yu smiled. Ling Zhao, you have the Great Fate Divination Black Bone Bracelet, so you can control the Azura Battle Tower. Once Yi Feng and Yi Meng finish receiving the inheritance, I'll leave them to you. Although I have less than 10% of the Azura origin left, if the two of them can completely refine it, becoming a sovereign won't be a problem. In the future, they'll have to rely on themselves. Yi Yu's voice was very soft. He looked at the bones around him with a trace of reluctance. Senior, don't worry. Yi Feng and Yi Meng are also my family. I'll take good care of them. Ling Zhao said solemnly. Good, very good. Young friend Ling, since you've obtained the inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God, your path ahead is destined to be very difficult. I have something you must remember. Yi Yu looked at Ling Zhao and said. Senior, please tell me. Be careful of the War God Temple. You must be careful of the War God Temple. Ling Zhao's eyes trembled. Why? Yi Yu smiled bitterly and shook his head. Although the War God Temple was born from the will of the Scarlet Dragon War God, it has long changed. It has become a malignant tumor of the War God world, a place where ambitious people gather. In order to deal with the future calamity, you must be careful of the War God Temple. Thank you, Senior. I'll remember. Chapter 732. It seemed that the War God Temple was not simple. He had to be careful in this Heaven's Choice Convention. At the same time, Ling Xiao began to have doubts about the War God Temple's purpose in holding the Heaven's Choice Convention. If the War God Temple really had some unspeakable secret, then the Heaven's Choice Convention would be very terrifying. Well, little friend Ling, this old man has to go. I believe that you will definitely be able to eliminate this great calamity and reach the pinnacle of the God realm. We may never meet again. Yi Yu smiled gently, with a trace of expectation in his eyes. His body shone brightly and slowly turned into a rain of light, disappearing in front of Ling Xiao. Never meet again. Ling Xiao sighed, with a trace of melancholy in his eyes. He could feel that in the depths of the space, the siblings Yi Feng and Yi Meng were cultivating. Their aura was powerful and terrifying, containing a trace of darkness origin energy. Their cultivation was soaring. They seemed to be undergoing some kind of transformation, transforming into the true Azura clan. This process might take a very long time. A light flashed in Ling Xiao's hand, and the dark Dian bone bracelet appeared in his palm. This dark Dian bone bracelet was extremely mysterious. When combined with the Heaven's Fate art, it could erupt with terrifying power. Moreover, with the dark Dian bone bracelet, he found that he could also mobilize a trace of the Azura Battle Tower's power. This Azura Battle Tower is really extraordinary. It actually has 8 complete small worlds. Ling Xiao's eyes trembled. The so-called training space of the Azura Battle Tower was only a small part of it. The majority of the space was sealed. The entire Azura Battle Tower was composed of 8 complete small worlds. It was an incomparably powerful divine tool. The Azura Battle Tower was definitely a supreme treasure. However, Ling Xiao also knew that only after Yi Feng and Yi Meng completed their transformation would they be able to control the Azura Battle Tower. It's time to go out. The Heavenly God Assembly should be starting soon. Ling Xiao sighed softly as a sharp glint appeared in his eyes. He had spent more than half a year comprehending the Heaven's Fate art. Counting the time, there were less than 2 months left before the Heaven's Choice Convention began. Ling Xiao's cultivation seemed to have advanced by leaps and bounds, and his talent was unparalleled. However, he had risked his life for every step he took. Every increase in his cultivation was due to great opportunities and good fortune. Currently, Ling Xiao was already a half-step supreme being, but he estimated that if he cultivated step by step, it would take him at least 100 years to pass the tribulation of the 4 symbols, the supreme being tribulation, and becoming a supreme being. He couldn't wait, and neither could Jin Sei. Ling Xiao had already decided that in this Heaven's Choice Convention, he must pass the supreme tribulation and ascend to the supreme realm. Yi Feng and Yi Meng probably wouldn't be able to participate in this year's chosen meeting. Ling Xiao also didn't plan on bringing them along. Receiving Yi Yu's inheritance was the most important thing. Ling Xiao was also looking forward to seeing what would happen to Yi Feng and Yi Meng after they came out of seclusion. The Azura Battle Tower was sealed by Senior Night Rain. I'm afraid the Shura sect is going to be alarmed. Ling Xiao was just about to leave when he sensed that the Azura Battle Tower had been sealed. He couldn't help but bitterly smile. He had a headache about how to explain this to the Shuren King. However, he couldn't tell the Shuren King the truth, so he had to find an excuse. Buzz! The monstrous black bone bracelet shone with a resplendent light. Ling Xiao used this treasure to control the Azura Battle Tower and sealed off most of the space, leaving only the original trial space. Only then did he release the seal on the Azura Battle Tower and walk out. Ling Xiao. It's great Elder Ling Xiao. He came out of seclusion. The seal on the Azura Battle Tower has also been removed. Quickly report to the sect leader. The disciples guarding the Azura battle tower saw Ling Xiao come out and immediately trembled. Their eyes were filled with excitement. Rumble. At this moment, a terrifying aura rose from afar. A black palm print swept across the sky and slammed down on Ling Xiao with monstrous momentum. Ling Xiao, you traitor! Tell me honestly, are you the one behind the Azura battle tower? An old and cold voice sounded in the sky above the Shura sect. Luo Feng. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he sensed the terrifying aura. That person had indeed reached the peak of the 9th level of the Venerable stage. Ling Xiao couldn't take this blow at all. The gap between them was too big. Rumble. Ling Xiao's body shone with dazzling divine light. Flames rose and broke through the shackles of the Sovereign Realm's divine aura. He used the shifting secret technique to dodge the blow. Luo Feng, I am now the great elder of the Shura sect. You have violated the sect rules by attacking me. Are you courting death? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with killing intent as he stared at Luo Feng in the distance. In the distance, Luo Feng was wearing a black robe. He was tall and had white hair. He looked majestic. Behind him were two powerful great elders. Luo Feng's eyes were gloomy and filled with cold killing intent. He looked coldly at Ling Xiao and said, the great elder of the Shura sect? Are you worthy? Without the approval of the elders meeting, what kind of great elder are you? Tell me honestly, why is the Azura battle tower sealed? Are you the one behind all this? If you don't give me a clear explanation today, I will kill you. Ha ha ha. What a joke. If the sect leader of the Shura sect can't appoint the great elder, do you think he will ask you? You are just a great elder. What right do you have to question the sect leader's decision? Luo Feng, you have committed an unforgivable crime. Moreover, the Shura battle tower is a treasure controlled by the sect leader. If you can't seal it, do you think I can? Don't slander me. Even if there is something wrong, I will report it to the sect leader. Who do you think you are to question me? Ling Xiao sneered and stared at Luo Feng. His eyes were filled with killing intent. What a sharp-tongued little bastard. I think you won't give up until you see the coffin. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being rude. Luo Feng's eyes turned cold and revealed a trace of cold killing intent. The terrifying Sovereign Realm's divine aura spread out from his body. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled. The entire Shura sect seemed to be enveloped by a terrifying killing intent. All the Shura sect's disciples turned pale. On the path of the Sovereign Realm, every step was a different level. Luo Feng was already a peerless powerhouse at the 9th level of the Sovereign Realm. He was much stronger than his sovereign celestial body. Even Ling Xiao's eyes turned serious in the face of this Sovereign Realm's divine aura. Rude? I'd like to see how rude you are. He is my nephew. What right do you have to criticize him? A cold and indifferent voice exploded in the void, carrying with it a monstrous domineering aura. Long lie. Luo Feng's body trembled and his eyes turned ugly. Chapter 733. Rumble. Above the sky, a dragon's aura filled the air. A middle-aged man wearing a 5-clawed golden dragon robe and a flat crown appeared. He was exuding a domineering aura. His black hair fluttered in the wind, his face was handsome, and his eyes were shining brightly. It was the master of the East Ocean Crystal Palace, Dragon King Long Lai. You bastard! You think you can scold my nephew? Long Lai's eyes flashed as a terrifying aura pressed down on Luo Feng. He sent a slap towards Luo Feng with a cold look in his eyes. Clearly, Luo Feng calling him a little bastard just now made Long Lai truly enraged. Long Lai, how dare you? Luo Feng's face changed. He did not expect Long Lai to attack him. Instantly, the sovereign's aura filled his body as he tried to dodge the slap. Rumble. A terrifying dragon's roar shook the sky as an invincible power of law descended. Luo Feng could not break free and could only watch as the slap landed on his face. Slap! A crisp sound rang through the Shura sect. Luo Feng's face swelled up after being slapped by Long Lai. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. All the Shura sect disciples were dumbfounded. That was Grand Elder Luo Feng, a Xiren Wang who was second only to the sect leader in the Shura sect. Yet, he was slapped in front of everyone. This was a great humiliation. However, under Long Lai's terrifying pressure, all of the Shiolua sect's disciples trembled in fear. Their eyes were filled with terror. He was a titled sovereign, one of the most powerful people in the War God continent. He stood at the peak of the human Tao and was extremely terrifying. Although Luo Feng was a rank 9 sovereign, he was no match for a titled sovereign. Long Lai, how dare you humiliate me? I will never forgive you. Luo Feng soared into the sky. His eyes were filled with resentment as he glared at Long Lai. He felt extremely humiliated. He was the Grand Elder of the Shura sect. How could he show his face in the Shura sect after being slapped? Do you want to die? Get over here, I'll fulfill your wish. Long Lai sneered. His face was filled with indifference and his voice exuded an incomparably domineering aura. The Crystal Palace had a good relationship with the Azura sect. However, before Long Lai had attained his title, he had already disliked Luo Feng. The two of them had often been at loggerheads with each other. However, since their cultivations were similar, neither of them could do anything to the other. Now, Long Lai had become a titled battle pet warrior, and Ling Xiao had taught him the secret skills of the ancestral dragon. His combat strength had improved by leaps and bounds. Luo Feng's expression was extremely ugly. He wanted to say a few harsh words, but when he saw Long Lai's cold gaze, he unconsciously swallowed his words. With Long Lai's domineering and arrogant personality, he might really kill him directly. Ha ha ha. Brother Long, you've graced us with your presence. I hope Brother Long can forgive me. At this moment, a hearty laugh was heard. The Shuren King flew over with a smile on his face. The Sky Devil Palace was powerful. Previously, the Azura sect and the Crystal Palace had formed an alliance to prevent the Sky Devil Palace's scheme from succeeding. Therefore, the Shuren King and Long Lai's relationship was very harmonious. Brother Shuren, some people in your sect don't know the rules and offend their superiors. They don't even respect you, the sect leader. I think it's time to teach them a lesson. Long Lai smiled faintly. Luo Feng's gaze turned cold and his expression turned even uglier. Even a fool would know that the person Long Lai was talking about was him. Brother Long, please forgive me. Ling Xiao is already the supreme elder of the Azura sect. No one is allowed to attack a fellow sect member. I'll definitely investigate what happened today and give Brother Long an explanation. The Shuren King said seriously. Alright, I'll wait for Brother Shuren's decision. My, Long Lai's, nephew is not someone that any Tom, Dick or Harry can casually scold. Long Lai sneered. The Shuren King looked coldly at Luo Feng and said, Elder Luo, what's going on? Explain. Ling Xiao has already been appointed as the supreme elder of the Azura sect. Why did you attack him? Luo Feng's expression turned ugly, but he still snorted and said, Sect leader, I think you've gone senile. What did Ling Xiao do to become the supreme elder of the Azura sect? The supreme elder of the Azura sect must be a disciple of the Azura sect and must be a sovereign. He's just a half-step sovereign. He's not even a disciple of the Azura sect. He doesn't have the qualifications. Moreover, the Azura Battle Tower is the most precious treasure of the Azura sect. However, it has been sealed for more than half a year because of him. I suspect that he's the culprit. That's why I wanted to capture him and interrogate him for the truth. Ha ha ha. Elder Luo, you're really bold. The Shuren king's eyes flashed and he said coldly, "Who said that you can't become the supreme elder of the Azura sect if you're not a disciple of the Azura sect?" The sky-devouring supreme from 10,000 years ago was the supreme elder of the Azura sect. Why don't you go and question him? Moreover, although Ling Xiao is only a half-step supreme being, he has the combat strength of a supreme being. Now, he already has 2 supreme being experts. With such peerless talent, once he becomes a supreme being, I'm afraid even you won't be his opponent. If he isn't qualified, who is? They can't be compared at all. The sky-devouring supreme was the most powerful person in the world 10,000 years ago. Ling Xiao is far from it. Luo Feng snorted coldly. I'm the sect leader. I have the authority to appoint the supreme elder. Elder Luo, what do you say? The Shuren king sneered. Luo Feng said coldly, Even if he's qualified to become the supreme elder, what about the Azura battle tower? It must be his doing. Why can't I capture him and interrogate him? Capture him and interrogate him? Luo Feng, what qualifications do you have? Ling Xiao is also a supreme elder like you. You bullied your fellow disciples. This is simply unforgivable. The Shuren king's eyes revealed a trace of disdain. Reporting to the sect leader, I can only tell you the reason why the Shura battle tower has been sealed. As for Elder Luo, he's not qualified and he's not qualified. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Luo Feng's face became uglier and uglier. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. At this moment, the 2 supreme elders who originally supported him also lowered their heads. With Long Lai, a titled sovereign, and the fact that the Shuren king wanted to use this opportunity to make things difficult for Luo Feng, they naturally didn't want to get involved in this muddy water. Shuren king, if you act arbitrarily, the Azura sect will be destroyed by your hands sooner or later. Since you're willing to disregard the rules of the Azura sect for an outsider, then I, Luo Feng, will completely withdraw from the Azura sect from today onwards. Luo Feng sneered and revealed a trace of cold sharpness in his eyes. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.